Brett.
But I'm not touching it. Purchase the single Jimmy not going to be a productive school. I was being facetious.
Oh, is that right? Is that true? Really?
Howdy, how are you?
How you doing?
I'll be better and
Are you recording this whole thing and putting it online?
We are.
Good.
It's live right now. If you want to step in front of the camera. Is it?
Yes.
Don't give me that
Oh,
opportunity.
come on, guys. Selfies all around.
We see each other all the time, yeah. Hello, how are you?
First guard the door here, make sure nobody can get out. Tell us time. Once you're here, you're here.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Dodging and moving.
Oh, you are, man.
How are you? Yeah, how are you? Good looking patches you got there. Good looking patches you got there. I like it. I see that. That looks good. That looks good. I'm already there.
I saw you say.
That's great.
I was going to try to convince you that I.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I don't think you told me neither. Your secret statement.
All over.
How are you?
How you doing, Daryl? Good to see you.
Yeah. So Bob, you're on the stage.
I am.
Uh-oh, you're dropping all these.
I did.
You're going to find those and make down the road.
I got a call by Alex. Yeah, wrong place. So I didn't change clothes.
Camper green.
Well, vote for the Republicans, vote for the Democrats. I don't think there's one on there. That's fine. First time.
I'll come by tomorrow and pick one up. Yes, sir. Please.
Well, I bet it's better for you. Yeah. Oh, it's just grab some water.
What are you doing? Are you having snacks?
I'm working
Can
now.
I hug you with a piece of cheese in your hand?
How are you?
Hi, Archie. Yeah, James thinks I just left her in the car. That's out the door.
Welcome.
What is
How are you?
Hey, John.
Hi, how are you?
Get over there, people.
They were wrong.
Pretty darn good.
Now you haven't made up your mind yet, have you? About the candidates. Are you here with an open mind? Never have another. How much is it? I think I remember one. Yeah. Yeah, because I'd like to know Kate Brown chose her, and I happen to like Kate Brown. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, Kate Brown. Oh, you were a fan of Kate Brown? Yeah, oh, okay. Well, so you know. But I figured, well, I'll remain open. Of course, I like West, he's a tennis player. And he's taken some tough, unpopular cases. And I appreciate that.
Are they using my mics for the pre-show?
Yes.
Okay. They're ready.
Okay, he's standing over there.
This shows that I'm not gonna.
I'm kind of digging the Star Wars music. It's fun. I'm sure Bob wants to figure it out. Just like that. Just like you do it. That's right.
What, I'm breaking you? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't have anything yet.
You can't hear us, can you? Can't hear a thing. There's
hear
nothing
nothing.
happening. Nothing's going
Nothing
on.
going
Wait,
on.
I got a thumbs up from Brent. Are we live right now? We're live.
We're live.
Okay.
Bobby Cavanaugh, we are live.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in this evening or whenever you will be watching this in the future. I'm Bob Cavanaugh and with me is
Corinne Bergiotti from the LeGrand Observer.
and
I'm from the Chamber of Commerce, too.
this is my boss. And so we're both from the Chamber of Commerce and we're here for the Candidates Forum and we've got a pretty big deal going on and we've only got
Big
a few
deal.
minutes here to start with the pre-show.
Right.
So let's get right to it. We've got, roughly 7 cities that
Yep.
will be having some type of election. We've got mayoral races, we've got city council races.
We do.
We've
We
got
have
2
state
other ones.
representative, and then we have circuit court judge.
So let's get right to it. We've got some races, and for you are at home, just so you know what's going on. We're up at the Conference Center, Blue Mountain Conference Center right now, and we're going to be going probably till 8:30, we believe, and we're going to hear from the candidates. Now, the funny thing about this is we reached out. I know the paper was very proactive in reaching out to the local candidates, and we invited them. We don't know who's going to be here.
Right. We got some RSVPs from several. There were some that didn't know if they were going to be able to make it tonight, and then some that declined completely and said that they were not going to make it. So,
Right. So interesting times we live in, especially when we see the political climate as it is today,
Right.
with expectations of the citizenry.
Right.
We who live here have expectations with our leadership. So let me ask you, okay, I've got some questions
Okay.
that we can discuss.
Ask
okay,
away.
and for you at home, let's go through a couple of thoughts you may have as well. But the first one is write-ins. We've got a couple races where, when it comes to write-ins, that how do I say this? Their names are not on a ballot.
right. So,
So is that a
The-
factor or non-factor?
I think it's a factor. I think
so,
it's a pretty
too.
big factor.
Talk about
so that would be the race in Cove, the
Right.
mayoral race in Cove.
Right.
So we did not have any candidate that filed before the deadline. We've got write-in candidates, and one of the write-in candidates is actually the incumbent, the sitting mayor in Cove, and his name is Lyndon Rose. So he is a write-in candidate, and then we have Del Little, who is also a write-in candidate. And as of today, we had heard that Lyndon was going to be a no-show tonight, but Del is showing up. So it's going to be interesting to hear him and his platform as a write-in candidate when the incumbent is not going to be here tonight.
Absolutely. And when you think about this, think about the complexity of being a write-in candidate as far as someone sitting at home, they get their ballot, there's no name on this
Right.
whatsoever. If you're not informed, you're not going to know. And so
Right.
any thoughts around the percentages of responses for the write-ins? Any idea?
No, I don't have a clue. My hope would be that people are taking into account who's taking this seriously or not. I mean,
Right.
I don't know any background information about the incumbent. What I can tell you is I would think that you would be really on top of making sure that you had filed. If the job was that important to you, you would make
Right.
sure that you had filed.
Right.
So it would be an amazing upset if you saw the other write-in candidate end up taking that race.
It would.
We'll see how it shakes out. but-
And we'll see. And I think you have a valid point. And we don't, and just to be clear, we don't know the situation
No,
or
not at all.
circumstances. But one could say, if you missed the write-in date or if you missed the date to register, maybe he was very busy. Maybe they both are very busy.
Well, and especially
so-
since he's got the seat right now. I mean, he's got a
Right.
lot going on, so I don't
Right.
doubt that for a second. But missing the filing date is an
It's
ouch.
pretty tough.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough, and it sends a
Right.
message. But we will say too, just as a disclaimer, most of these positions are volunteer positions.
They
and
are.
That's something that, again, you guys at home need to understand. There's no salary involved in this. They're not making six-figure incomes, benefits, and all that. For
No,
one
and a
person.
lot of them have full-time plus jobs, or they
Exactly.
own their own business. They have families. I mean, these are all people that are doing other things, and so to step up to the plate and to do something as big as giving back to your community as
Right.
as serving on city council or being the
Right.
mayor of the town that you live in, it's a big deal. There's a lot of time investment that goes into something like that, and not a lot of return.
Not a lot of return, but the satisfaction. And I think you
Absolutely.
hit on something. These are people who are passionate about their community and their county. And so that's important to remember. Okay, let's go to something else. Now, one of the things we noticed, especially as we sent out invitations, and you were much more involved along with Charisse at the paper, some responded, some did not,
They did.
the candidates.
Right.
So some took this seriously. As you look in the room tonight, we've got some candidates who have posters and signs, and they're serious. They're taking this very seriously.
They are, and we
Others
gave
not.
all of the candidates the opportunity that if they're going to be here tonight, we gave them table space around the outside of the room, which I don't know if you guys will be able to see that on camera sometime tonight, but on the perimeter of the room, we gave them an opportunity to have a table and then to set up with their pamphlets and flyers, just anything that they wanted to bring, brochures, just information about their campaign. Some of them opted to do that. Others were very clear that they were not doing that at all.
Some did not. So, and I don't know if that says anything. I'm not trying to look between like a message in between the lines here. Is it confidence? Maybe they feel they've done such a great job and their reputation is so strong, or is it that it just didn't matter?
Right.
It's just one
And
of those things that
then
matter.
there were some people that just simply said tonight didn't work for them. I mean, they had,
Right.
and again, you're talking about people that have families, they have full-time jobs, they have businesses that they run, they have other things going on, and so for some people, this night just didn't work out for them.
Which we understand, and we did our best to make this as a neutral of a night as we could. So, okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's talk about, we came up with one question. Now, here's something, again, viewers at home, you need to understand. We had so many candidates across the spectrum, there was no way that we could, with enough time, allow public comments. or
Right,
public
especially
questions.
when we were giving the opportunity to the people who were running unopposed. We also wanted to give them the opportunity to come up and be able to speak to about their platform. So once you took
Right.
that into an account, we weren't just looking at the contested races. You were looking at, I mean, what did we, at one count, did we have 16 or 19 total candidates? That's a lot of people to try to get in at one time.
And the challenge was we would unfortunately confuse the voters.
Right.
It would become so overwhelming that we as voters would just throw our hands in the air and say, I forgot who's who in this race. But we did do this. We came up with one question.
Right.
And so what you will see tonight for the forum or as we go on, we'll have all the cities, all the different candidates come up at one time or another. But we did come up with one question. Do you want to talk about that one question?
Yeah, so we met as a group and decided on the question. And the question, we decided it would be easier if that question was posed in a way where it could be answered by either a city council representative or a mayor or state representative or even circuit court judge. So one common question that we could tweak just a little bit where we would get a good idea about the candidate's platform, what to expect out of them, and kind of a basic message that they wanted to get out to voters.
So, and in that question, you would people at home are like, "What is a question?
Yeah, I know.
What is it? You're killing
And we'll
me."
get to that.
So, and we will. But here's the thing: this question is very designed is to make sure, or to see. I think a better way to put this is to see: is the candidate connected to the community to the point where they understand the needs of the community,
Right.
or are they completely off
Right.
base? And so, do you want to reveal the
I'm gonna
question?
reveal the question.
Okay, 'cause you at home, get ready. Here it comes.
there's a lot of buildup for a question.
They're gonna be like, oh,
I
that's
know,
it?
that's
Oh,
right.
well.
So the question was, in your opinion, what are the 2 most pressing issues in your city, and how do you plan to solve them? And again, that will be the same question that we'll pose to city council, the mayors, the circuit court judge candidates, and the state representatives. And they all got the question ahead of time so that they could sort of plan in advance, because this will be very fast moving. The time that they have to introduce themselves, to answer the question, and then to give sort of a wrap-up speech is only 3 minutes total.
Right.
It's not very much time. So we gave them the question in advance so that they could do a good job of making sure that in that short 3-minute time frame, they got their platform across and the voters would know where they stood.
Well, and I think the beauty of that and the genius behind it, especially as we talked in that meeting, is that for a candidate to truly run on a platform that made sense to the citizenry, they really need to understand the issues. And so, and thinking of just some of the issues, we've got fire prevention, utilities, infrastructure,
Right.
economic development, livable wage jobs, growing an economy, balanced growth, leadership,
Urban renewal.
leading by consensus.
Got the sheriff's contract and union. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So it's going to be interesting, and I would encourage you who are at home watching this to really look for that question. Look for how the candidate answers the question, and find out, and let's see if they are answering it specifically, and do they have a specific plan.
Right. The other thing, too, is on Monday the 22nd, the Observer is going to be running a question and answer section, a voter's guide that will be out. And so if you are looking for more in-depth question and answers from your candidates, either look in your subscribed Monday paper or pick one up out of the rack, and that'll give you just some more insight into your candidate.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very helpful, because the average citizen person who lives in our county, we're all very busy. And you might say we live in a rural area. In fact, some call us a frontier market, of all things.
I've never heard that
a
before.
Frontier market, which means we're remote, right? Logistics are complicated.
Right.
We see that happen play out all the time with businesses. And so to have a resource like that is going to be helpful, because people then can make up their own mind, make an informed decision. And that's really what we're about tonight. Is one of the last things I had to talk about was the format of tonight. So
Okay.
we had a conversation with by the way, just so you at home know, we invited all the political, how do I want to say this, parties to come to a meeting along with the media.
Right.
And the idea was, what should this look like? And so there was a unanimous decision that it should not be a debate, but it should be a forum.
Right.
Talk about that.
Well, debates make people uncomfortable sometimes, and you never know what you're going to get. I mean, we've done debates before, and sometimes it's a great experience. You get some really good questions, you get some great answers out of the candidates, and then other times it becomes a free-for-all.
Right.
People get really defensive. You have people from the audience that have an agenda that they're trying to push, and honestly, by the end of the night, you are no further into knowing your candidate than you were when you started. And we were not looking for this to be a debate sort of setting. It's more of a meet and greet, an opportunity for you to hear the platform of your candidate, get to know them a little bit better. It's more laid back, loosely put together. I think that the voters will get more information this way.
I think you're right. And I think, too, to add to what you're saying, we're not going to experience that combative nature
No.
that sometimes comes
No.
out in politics. You have people who are very passionate, as people in our county are very
Especially when you're
passionate.
serving beer in the back.
Okay, that's so. If you're not here yet, you need to know we've got Tap That Growlers,
Right.
Serving beer. We've got Safeway, and Walmart also donated some food for us tonight.
We've got food in the back. So if you're watching from home right now on La Grande Live TV, and you're thinking, I should really be there in person, there's still time.
There's still time. We will actually get things underway. We decided we're going to start at 5:30.
Okay.
Is when we launch this thing.
Okay.
I do want to get your opinion, though. We've got a couple measures that are coming up, 3197 and 3196.
Okay.
So 3197 has to do with our specific town of Embler.
Okay.
And
And
they-
that is prohibiting marijuana in
That is.
Embler, right?
That is.
The production of marijuana
Right.
in Embler.
Right. So what are your thoughts around it? Because most of the cities have really gone back and forth on this. I know the city of La Grande had a pretty big issue happen with city council, because
They did.
make a decision to put it on the ballot, then
Made a decision not to put it
take
on
it
the
off,
ballot.
right? Because there's such stiff opposition that came to that, and then what it just went back. It was really
I think you're going to
nightmare.
see the same thing in Embler.
Do you think?
Yep.
Oh man, I wonder.
Yep.
And I got
I
that
think so.
impression. And I want to encourage you who are at home, be sure now. Mine is written all over, but the voter's pamphlet is very important that you have one. But as I read,
Especially when you get into the ballot measures. I mean, there's so much verbiage that's wrapped up in it, stuff that you understand, stuff that you can't understand. It is important to sit and read through them. Please do not be one of those voters that gets your ballot and does this.
Throw
and
a dart.
Right. I mean,
Right.
if you're going to take the time to vote, make sure that you are being an educated voter.
Right.
And this is the best thing that you can read to make sure that you know what's going on.
Absolutely is, because sometimes if
It's
you say,
important.
Well, in some measures, if you are for the measure, means you are against.
Right.
it. So we want
Right.
to be careful of that.
Careful
So,
reading.
The marijuana measure in Imbler, that one actually surprised me. So
That it was on the ballot?
I was surprised on the ballot because most other cities have had a hands-off
Mm-hmm.
approach. Well, real quick, how are we on time? We're okay on time. Elgin, the mayoral race, as I understand it, is the opponent, the incumbent, has been there a while. He's
Alan
tenured-
Duffy.
Alan Duffy, and so the city council's made a pretty strong stance on marijuana, and they're not going to do that. That they've decided they're not going to have marijuana part of their city. So the challenger.
Who is John Rutherford?
Right. From what I understand, one of his platform, or if that is his entire platform, is saying that's what he's going to go after.
So that could be a very good thing for him, or it could be a very bad thing for him. And it'll be interesting. I mean, a lot of it's going to be based on how the city of Elgin as a whole feels about it, not necessarily how Alan feels about it or
Right.
how
Right.
John feels about it. I mean,
Right.
since they are supposed to be representatives of their city and the voice of their city,
Right.
how does everybody else feel about it?
It goes back to the question, the two-part question, and whether either of those candidates have figured out that what they're concerned about is what their citizenry
Right.
is concerned about.
Right.
Okay, last measure that we're going to talk about was the expanding the definition of firearms and limits.
You might
on
have to school me
enforcement.
on this one.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. We had a state initiative that was going to ban certain components of firearms, which meant almost every firearm that was owned could potentially be illegal. So what's happened is Union County has a measure that says we're not going to go that route. So if the state accepts that and adopts that, meaning a certain length of clip or a certain style of firearm,
Okay.
they're saying those are illegal for the state. What we're saying is in Union County, you have a decision to make whether that will be enforced or not enforced.
Oh, got it.
Now, as I understand it, though, the state has let that go. They're not even pursuing that, as I understand it.
Probably a smart move.
Probably a smart move. Okay, so we are getting down to it. We're going to start here in just a few minutes. If you're at home, thank you for tuning in. We have got a pretty exciting evening for you tonight with some quality candidates. Again, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what candidates are here.
We don't.
We're excited, though, to see how this goes. And we're very thankful for a community that is I guess I want to say they're pro-Union County. What happens here, it matters. They care. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes tonight.
Yep, I'm excited to see everybody come in, and I'm glad that people at home are opting to watch, from home too. We didn't used to have that option, so it's nice to be able to have a live streaming option, courtesy of LaGranda Live TV.
Yeah, looking live. And also I want to thank Reed and Associates. Reed and Associates Insurance, it really stepped up to help fund this, to put this on tonight. So
Our
we wanna
media
thank them.
partners, The Observer and Super Talk Radio, and then we have Casey Kunkel, Lighting and Sound. He's helping us out tonight also. Tap That Growlers in the back.
$10 and Safeway.
Yep, it'll
So-
be a good night.
It's going to be an exciting night. So thank you for tuning into our pre-show. Stay tuned. I think we're just going to let the live stream hang out for a couple minutes until we
Okay.
get started. Thanks for being my co-host again.
Yep, I'm happy to do it.
Karim Brajati, I'm Bob Kavanaugh, and we'll be back here in just a few minutes.
Okay, thanks.
You will take these. I will take the table.
Got it.
Got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here this evening. As you have noticed as you've come in, there are refreshments, snacks, so I hope you all have helped yourself to those. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this candidates forum here. So I'd like to introduce at this time, we're going to have a little music by Brent Clapp. So Brent, would you do us the honors of singing America the Beautiful for us?
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce to the stage Lieutenant Gary Bell and Sheriff Boyd Rasmussen. And if we could stand once again, we're going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance to kick us off here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Travis Fager with the invocation for the evening.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the platform of freedom, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity to participate in the platform of freedom, Lord. We know that this didn't come for free, Lord. We thank you for the souls who before us have paid the price, those who are living now paying the price. We thank you, Lord Jesus, for your price you paid for freedom. We ask your presence be on this event this evening, and your blessing be on our communities. In Jesus' name, amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Mr. Bob Kavanaugh and Miss Corinne Brigiotti.
Thank you, Casey. Thanks for your time and being here tonight. Here we are again, another candidates forum. Ms.
Another
Corinne.
candidates forum.
And so we were back here a little bit ago for the county commissioners forum, and now we're here for a lot bigger forum.
We are. So we've got city council races. We have circuit court judge, a few mayoral races, and then state representative.
So there's a lot going on, and there's probably more that we may have missed, and please be patient with us as we work through this process.
There's a lot of people involved.
There's a lot going on. You're probably wondering, how are we going to cycle as many candidates in here and not be done at midnight tonight?
I'm not confident that we won't be done.
Oh,
until
man.
midnight
Well,
tonight.
No. We have a plan.
There's beer in the back. It'll be fine.
We have a plan. Before, though, we do want to recognize we have some sponsors that we want to say thank you to. We could not be meeting here if we didn't have these fine establishments stepping up and saying they want to support what we're doing and helping pay some of the bills. And so we've got Reed & Associates Insurance. I want to thank Kevin and his team for actually stepping up and saying we want to fund this forum and be a big part of it. We've also got Tap That Growlers in the back. Thank you for being here. And we did that because we want you to feel at ease. You know, there's a reason for the food, and why don't you finish up the recognition of our sponsors, and we'll explain the pattern of.
We have media partners with us tonight, so The Observer and Super Talk Radio. And then we are live streaming tonight for those at home through Brent Clapp Media Service and La Grande Live TV. And then, of course, the Union County Chamber of Commerce.
And Safeway. So we can't forget those great sponsors. Real quick, let's talk about tonight. Here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to move as quickly through this as we can. The controversy is the audience going to be able to ask questions? And so we want to talk about that first, and we're going to go through how we're going to unfold tonight. What we decided to do was, at first, we're not going to have questions from the audience only because of the quantity of candidates. If we had every candidate show up here, we don't know how we could do that or what that could look like. So we did have a group of people, the media, some of the parties got together, and we really, I want to say we tried very hard to find one question that would represent our population as it pertains to those specific titles.
Right, and a question where in the short amount of time that we had, the candidates would be able to sort of share their platform with everyone. And I think we did a good job summing that up in one question that made sense for everybody.
I think so, and I think that you're going to be okay with it. Now, here's what we are going to do. We don't know what candidates will be here tonight. We did reach out, and I won't put you on the spot, and we reached out to every candidate multiple times, and we invited them to come. Some could make it. Some said they could not make it.
Right.
We did not hear from others.
Right.
And so we're not going to get into that. But what we wanted to do, if we have time when we're done, we will go then to you who are here. And we have a live stream show, and you at home, thank you for joining us. And I wish there was a way we get some live stream questions. And so Brent, back there, if we have someone who gives some feedback or has a question, we may relate to you as well. Okay, so so here's the structure. We're going to start with the city councils.
Yes.
We're going to go to the mayors, then we're going to go to the judge, and then
And
to
state
the state
reps.
representatives.
Mhm.
And we're going to call, you need to know there is a countdown clock. It is the dreaded countdown clock that I believe caused Matt Scarfo to have nightmares and therapy.
Yeah.
So
It's necessary, though. So they'll start out with 30 seconds to be able to give sort of their introduction, their candidate introduction. Then they'll have 2 minutes to ask to answer the common question that we gave everybody, and everybody had the question in advance to give them an opportunity to sort of plan their answer and make sure that they stayed in that 2-minute time frame. And then we'll give them 30 seconds for a wrap up.
And they'll be able to do it all at once. So the thought was, do we go down the line and do we go down the line again? And we decided that we're going to give them their shot one at a time,
Right.
Introduction, answer the question, and give their closing. So you will not be confused on who is who.
No.
That was the other thing too. We want to make sure that you who are at home and you who are here in the audience, that we are systematic in how this is played out. So we hope that this will help you make a rational, educated decision on who your candidate or who you would like to see win the race.
Right.
Okay. So with that said, I think we're ready to kick it off.
I think we are.
Real quick, the restrooms are out the doors. There's a couple of housekeeping things. Feel free. This is a forum. You are welcome to get up, get some food, get something to drink at any time. You are not glued to your seat. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the city councils first. We have got a drawing, if you will, just so that
It's
we're on
pretty
track.
scientific.
And we got very technical with it. Every city is on a ping pong ball. And so what we're going to do is we're going to call this one city at a time if you are running for city council. Now, the challenge, too, was we may have some people who are going to be write-ins. We don't know who they will be. In fact, we talked about that on the live stream, that could be the wild card, so to speak. We don't know who the write-ins will be. So if you're here and you're running for city council and you hear the name of your city, we're going to ask you the first one we call to go right on up to the stage. Now, we've got Sherry and Chris will help you up on the stage. Once they're there, we're going to pull another ball for the next city, and we're going to ask you to please go to that table. That's the on-deck table. So we'll save some time. So once we get done with this city, the next city goes right up, and we'll call the next city that goes on deck. Did I just confuse the whole wide world? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm a part of this, and I don't know what's going on.
Wonderful. All right, so let's go ahead and go. So
Okay.
here, I'm going to shake this up. You draw the
so
first
exciting.
one, and the first city that's going to come up on the stage is
Okay, City Council Cove.
Cove. If you're running for city council and you're here from Cove, please come on up to the stage so we can present the one question that we came up with. All right.
This might go quicker than I thought.
Okay, so let's go to the next city.
Okay. City Council Elgin.
If you're running for city council in Elgin, come on up. All right. Let's call the next one.
Good Lord. City Council North Powder.
City council in
Ugh.
Powder. There we go.
God bless you.
Come on up. Yep.
Yeah, please.
And then Sherry or Chris will help you out. There we go. Okay, doesn't need any help getting up there. All right. So again, we came up with one question. So Corinne, do you want to go ahead and read that question?
I will read the question. In your opinion, what are the two most pressing issues in your city, and how do you plan to solve them?
The one thing I have in North Powder is the replacement of.
No, we can't hear you. So you're going to need to use that microphone. If you can go ahead and take it off the stand.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Do we
Yeah.
need to move that a little bit? Sherry,
not
can you
very
help
loud.
with that? Pretty please. If we need to pull that out and hold it, or if we just need to turn it up a little bit towards you. There you go.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
And Michael, you've got a 30-second intro, correct?
Mhm.
And then 2 minutes to answer a question, and then a 30-second wrap up.
Okay. I I discovered Eastern Oregon when I opened the Copper Kitchen at the Sunridge in Baker in 1974. And I came from Southern Oregon, and I just fell in love with it here. When I first moved here, I worked at the Copper Kitchen on the freeway where the Sunridge is at. That was a long time ago. And I learned how to ski at Anthony Lakes in 1974 also. I think the two most pressing issues in North Powder is replacement of the city hall and the library. The city hall is literally falling apart. It's dangerous. It needs to be replaced, and the library is not very far behind it. Okay, then I can go to the next answer to the next question. How do I plan to solve it? Funding is a challenge for us because we've already had some improvements in the city, and I think after seeing Pendleton and Huntington's success with the marijuana program, I think we should have a dispensary there. They're making $100,000, and that could easily replace the city hall and the library. And part of that is because we just had some additions to our new school, and it's costing probably about $30 more a month for me and my taxes. And I think it's be really important for other sources of income instead of having to raise my taxes. And I think that would be very positive for us. Because we have a new gym going in at our school, and the school's being rebuilt, and we're excited about that. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Michael Morse is running for City Council position 4 in North Powder.
Thank you. Let's give him a hand. Thank you, Michael. All right, and that was North Powder. Thank you. Thank you for your time. All right, next city.
Next city. Okay, this was Bob's funny idea. City of Perry.
I don't want to feel left out. Perry is a beautiful place. Okay.
What would have been funnier is if somebody at Perry had shown up.
Yes. They don't have a city government there, but we can't forget our friends in Perry. We think about you. All right.
Okay, City Council, Somerville. Moving along.
So let me say this. You're probably thinking, where are these cities? Do they not take this seriously?
I'm wondering where their city council is.
So here's my thought. Now, this is the first one we've done, and I don't want to put him on the spot. As we move forward and we do these year after year, this will catch on more and more. I do wish we had those city representatives here. It would be nice to hear from them. It would be nice to hear their thoughts. Mm-hmm. The truth is people now who vote from those cities, they may know them, they may not, but we don't have a platform to express that.
Correct.
So we'll move forward.
Okay. Next city council, Imbler. Wow.
All right, no one from Imbler.
City Council LeGrand.
All right, if you're running for City Council LeGrand, come on up.
Yep.
Just go right on up, you bet. Thank you. I don't think we need to worry about the on deck. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. All right. And to be, with transparency, Jim Wedbeck is running. He is going unopposed. So there is no opposition. So Jim, we thank you for your time for being here as well. So thank you.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and pose the question that we gave you guys, same question that everybody got, which is, in your opinion, what are the two most pressing issues in your city and how do you plan to solve them? And I think just for ease, we'll just start on the left-hand side. Justin, you can go ahead and go first. So give your 30-second intro and then 2 minutes to answer the question and then a 30-second wrap-up.
Very proud to be called a lifelong citizen of the great community. I cannot imagine living anywhere else. This is home. Aside from spending the time in the United States Marine Corps, I've only lived in LeGrand. My family has been a part of this community for 53 years. I have co-owned and operated Rock & Sons for 17 years. I have also spent 13 years of various community commissions and committees serving LeGrand.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. On my two issues, my first one is URA. The Urban Renewal Program has been in place for 20 years. Like anything in life, but priorities and goals do change. Therefore, I want to review the urban renewal policies and programs to determine the needs and the current priorities of our community. I want to continue under-levying the URA program to help put funding back into our general fund, make the return investments a priority in our call for projects. We need to more positive growth in our community. I also want to review our current potential property sites for development to make sure that we have valuable properties for future business developments. My next issue is roads. Roads are one of the top issues in our community. Infrastructure is very important and part of a strong, healthy community. While not due to lack of effort by part of our city staff, but rather challenges from funding. Funding is our main issue. It's not the staff. The staff do a great job with what they do. However, in the next year, the city will be receiving funds from the state and Oregon, which come from the CMAQ program that the city receives every 4 years. So one of my first goals would be to have a work session between the Parking, Traffic Safety, and Street Maintenance Advisory Commission to decide the plan of action for roads that need the most maintenance in our community, and to determine on how best allocate the funds from the state and inform the public on future road maintenances as well. As your current city councilor, I always try to listen to the community as a whole, and from that I figure out the best of actions. I take all different perspectives into consideration before making a decision. I make decisions on laws, rules, and procedures, various personal feelings or bias. I do not go off of bias. I go by rules. I also strive to make
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. Go ahead and take your 30-second to wrap up, and you can continue your thoughts.
That was his wrap up.
Was that the wrap up?
That was his wrap up.
Justin, is there anything that you'd like to say then? Go ahead.
Yes. All right. I always strive to make conservative decisions when it comes to the budget and any fiscal decisions. If I was re-elected, I would continue to listen to the voices of the citizens, to strive to continue make LeGrand thrive and encourage positive growth. I am graciously asking for your support and your vote to vote for me, Justin Rock, on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin. Ashley O'Toole.
Hey everybody, my name is Ashley O'Toole. I'm originally from the state of Missouri. After high school, I joined the Navy Seabees, where I served for 6 years, touring the world. That includes an 8-month deployment in Iraq, where I was a vehicle commander on a convoy team. A few years after I got out of the Navy, I moved here to LeGrand, immediately fell in love. I became a property manager and a real estate agent at John Howard & Associates. And when I fell in love with LeGrand, I also saw the ways in which this could be a greater town. I wanted to make it better. And so in 2013, I co-founded the Eastern Oregon Beer Festival, along with members and volunteers of Main Street. A year later, I got to work founding the New Year's Eve block party and the ball drop. Since then, I've also joined the board of directors at the county chamber, and I sit on the LeGrand budget committee. Let's get to the question. Truth is, there's way more than two, right? And I've been just during this campaign hearing from citizens about their concerns, and that's part of my campaign is really to consider those concerns when we do get beyond more than just two of them. I certainly want citizens to know that I do hear them. I've been hearing them on the campaign trail and before that, and I want to give them the hope that their opinions are going to be considered when we talk about these issues at LeGrand City Council. I'm not a politician. I'm a father, I'm a small business owner, and I'm a concerned citizen myself that's trying to be part of this solution. Yes, I will be offering outside opinions. I know I'm not from the area. I have lived around the world and around the United States. And I hope maybe to bring some outside opinions in, and I'm not really going to be making a lot of decisions based on the way things have always been. But to answer the question, the two issues that I would certainly focus on here today are increasing the inventory of affordable housing and advocating for fiscal responsibility. LeGrand has been blessed with natural beauty and actually some great job opportunities, family wage jobs that are attracting outside people to our community, and we need a place to put them. This is affecting rental market and real estate market and all income levels. I think a real estate industry expert is going to be an essential part of discussing that issue, and I bet I'll have some critical input, and I hope to continue to be a part of that solution as well. The ultimate goal for me, though, is to create a thriving and sustainable LeGrand that welcomes growth, both in population and in economic development, while maintaining an attitude of practicality and fiscal responsibility. Outro spiel. In my 6 years here in LeGrand, I've come to have a deep love and passion for my city. I understand what a great town LeGrand is, and I see a mountain of potential. I believe reaching that potential requires policy changes, forward-thinking, community-wide collaboration. I bring a fresh view to the city, and I want to create sustainable growth and stability. I'm looking forward to hearing input from citizens, city staff, fellow council members in order to make decisions that move LeGrand in the right direction. And I'd appreciate your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
All right, Jim Whitbeck.
Hi, folks. I'm Jim Whitbeck. I own Blue Mountain Outfitters. I moved to LeGrand about 4 years ago. I spent most of my professional career in corporate consulting and HR, and then came out here to help a friend with his family business and decided to start one of my own. So LeGrand's been very, very kind to me. I had no retail experience. People have been very comfortable or accepting of my learning curve, so I'm very appreciative of that. And I'm just very passionate about the area and about LeGrand. I have tried to contribute back to the community in a number of different ways. I currently serve on the Planning Commission, the Tourism Advisory Committee with Bob in the Chamber. I also, with Bob, help facilitate a meeting of the mayors that happens every month or so, as well as some of the other county leadership. And I am also on the board for the Small Business Development Center. I've also put in a couple of years in the boards for the Eastern Oregon Film Festival and for LeGrand Main Street downtown. So I've tried to see as many different perspectives as possible, and I hope to bring those to City Council as well. Getting to my issues, which looks like I'm already into. So the first one is sort of a housing crisis that I see, kind of piggybacking on some of what Ashley just spoke about. Being on Planning Commission, I can see that there's sort of a systemic issue happening at all levels of housing availability in LeGrand, and that's something I hope to address. It's a complicated one, but I think the study that's about to be done by the city is going to help us with that a lot. The other piece for me is economic development, and this one's a little bit more near and dear to my heart, as you can imagine, but essentially for me it's balancing between sort of larger scale economic development in terms of attracting larger employers, along with making sure that we have a vibrant downtown and encourage new entrepreneurs and business owners, small business owners around the community. And for me, there's a number of different components to that one. Obviously, balancing those two is a challenge, but then also making sure that the programs that are being implemented at the city level are as transparent as possible, involving as many stakeholders as possible, and then also, by virtue of that, essentially driving a kind of accountability that I think is really important. So continuing to drive those two issues, housing and economic development, those are basically my main issues. So for my outro, my final 30 seconds, honestly, I don't have all the answers, and I won't pretend to. What I do is I mostly just believe in dialogue, and I believe in accountability. And so if those are values that you share, then I hope I can count on your vote in November. If not, I don't have an opponent, but you could always do a write-in campaign. So.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. So, thank you, and stay there, gentlemen. So we're very good on time tonight, and as a disclaimer, you may be sitting in the audience thinking, well, this is a dear friend of mine. We live in a rural area, so we are very acquainted, and we know a lot of people, and we know each other. And I'm going to tell you, Jim's going unopposed. Ashley and Justin are going head-to-head. This is going to be a very, very tough decision. These are all fine gentlemen, and they love the area, they love the city, and I do not envy we who are voters here on that choice, because they're excellent men. Now, we do have a little bit of time for some questions from you for the City Council of LeGrand. We want to open that up to you, and we're going to have a microphone. Do we have someone who can run around with that microphone, Casey?
I can run around with mine, too.
So here's a couple, I guess, rules of engagement, if I could just pose this to you. When you ask a question, it needs to be a question that's designed that all three can answer. So If you've got a question for one candidate and you're looking for a specific something from one, please reformat your question so that all three can answer that question. Also, this is not designed as a debate. It is not combative. It is really a more meet and greet, get to know and understand so you can make an informed decision. And so I ask that when you do formulate a question, let's make sure all three can answer and get to your question. You may have an agenda. You may have a very an area of passion that you believe very, very strongly in. So you might be thinking you've got a long monologue. Well, we here in the audience are really waiting for you to get to the question. So I don't want to have to cut you off, and I don't want to have to say, please ask your question. So those are the ground rules. Did I get it all?
Yeah, and I can hit them with my microphone.
Oh, there you go. All right, so you're going to run around. We've got
I'll run around.
Kelly to run around too. So if you want to hit that side, Kelly
should
can do
open
this
it
side.
up for Michael too. So Michael Morse has already been up, but if there's somebody that has a North Powder question, I would like to give him the opportunity to do that too, since
I think that's
he made
fair.
the effort to show up, and
we
there
have
could be some North Powder questions. So I'd
Right.
like to open it up to him.
So Michael, if there's an extra stool, Michael, go ahead up to that extra stool up there.
Yeah.
Yep. And Chris, can you help Michael up on the side over there? And there is a stool off to the side. We have two more
Thanks,
cities.
Michael.
We have two more cities, and we will have time for public questions for those cities as well. We're going to take maybe 15, 20 minutes, I think
Okay.
is what we're good on time. All right. So are you ready to ask a question? I see
Got a
one in the
question in the
very,
back.
very back. One in the very, very back.
Yes.
You know, let's keep them as brief as you can. Yeah, let's just, we're going to trust you. You guys know what you're doing.
Pardon me. My name is Mike Rosenbaum. I live in LeGrand, and my question is for all three potential city councilors for LeGrand. The CWPP is called the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. As you're probably aware, LeGrand, Cove, and Somerville are all very fire prone owing to the country that we live in. What I want to know specifically from all three of the city council candidates in LeGrand is what are your plans to inform everybody that lives in LeGrand of how to get information should a wildfire intrude into LeGrand? What are the evacuation routes out of LeGrand? Where will people go if they have to evacuate? What will we do if the hospital gets burned out? Where will we treat people? And how can people get information, up-to-date information on incoming wildfires? Again, we're extremely prone to that. Look at Reading, look at Wenatchee. They didn't expect wildfire there, and they got it. So I want to get a specific plan from each of the city council candidates on what you will do to inform us about what to do about wildfire. Thank you.
All right, good question. Really, and I thank you for that. You know, there's a lot there, but I think we really understand where you're going with that because we all live in a dangerous fire area. So we started on the left last time. Let's start on the right. Jim, talk about some specifics that come to your mind on how to protect the citizenry, specific plans to evacuate, emergency preparedness, that kind of thing.
How long do I have? A minute?
Take
or
a minute.
30
Take a
seconds?
minute,
Yeah.
2 minutes. Just, you're good.
Okay. All right. So I'll be up front. This is definitely outside of my knowledge area for sure. But I think that when we talk about disaster preparedness, it's taking an increased level of emphasis for all of us, especially when it comes to wildfires, and absolutely looking at what happened in Southern Oregon. I operate in an industry where wildfires are kind of a regular have a regular impact on the health of my industry and my business retail-wise. So when fires come through, it's actually part of my job, honestly, to keep track of what's happening where, keep my customers informed. So I have some awareness of what the resources are that are out there, what is available in terms of what the city can do to drive that forward outside of traditional media is less clear to me. But I do think that we would want to explore alternative media like social media to make sure that people are informed and have at least an awareness of where to go for the information. And for emergency plans and preparedness, I would use the same media to get that information out. But I am not sure what the specific plans are that we have currently in place. So I'll just be upfront about that.
Thank you, Jim. So for North Powder, tell us your thoughts.
I don't know a lot about that either. I can tell you that it's scary sometimes. I remember like 5 or 6 years ago, it was so smoky. You were doing this all day long, and the flies would buzz you to death, okay, because they were having a bad time. But we have a really good rural fire department that takes good care of us there, and that's about all I can say.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Ashley?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Actually, very good question. And I think Justin and I probably remember when you came to the council meeting not very long ago to raise that concern. And I agree it should be a concern that probably goes up the priority ladder a little bit. So again, thank you for asking. And if anything, I think we should establish, encourage at least a work session or two to get more information. Based on your question, you sound kind of an expert of the subject matter, so I think your opinions and input would be valued there off the bat. But you're right, we do need to have some established shelters in town. Where are people going to go in case of these emergencies? Same thing goes with evacuation routes. I think something else to touch on too is we've got a lot of property owners around the outskirts of LeGrand that obviously have a lot more timber on their property. I would think those folks in particular need to have a certain level of education on what to do about fire prevention and how to be sort of a first responder if something should happen. I think it's also going to take a certain level of coordination between LeGrand Fire District, LeGrand Rural, to come up with sort of a master plan. So I thank you for your question, and sounds like we've got a lot to talk about on that topic.
Thank you, Ashley. Justin?
Thank you. And I appreciate your question there, Mike. But I think, with the city council, it is our job to put in the rules and the policies on what the city goes by. But this question would be more for like the county is the sheriff's department, the fire department, because these are the men and women that are going to be putting these things into place. As city council members, we will not be the ones, setting up where people are going to be going, because that is not our job. The law enforcement are the ones with the knowledge. The fire department is the one with the knowledge. But, us, it is our job to put them all together and set up a plan, which I think is a good idea, and I appreciate your question.
Thank you. All right. Good question. Thank you for asking. Another question here. Oh, let's get a mic on you if you could.
Here.
Friend?
I'm Jerry Watson, and I'm from LeGrand, and I'd like to know what you think the implications are of the Boardman to Hemingway project with huge towers coming through the valley, what you think the implications are for our future here. And second question, what you think about alternative energy and how the city can be involved with the county on those issues.
That's a great question. I wondered if B2H was going to come up. Thank you. All right, I think we started on the right last time. Let's start on the left this time. By the right or left side doesn't mean anything from a political standpoint, so don't read between the lines there. All right. I'm sorry. Justin, do you want to tackle that one, B2H?
So, let me just get this right. You have two different questions. Your first one is to ask about the power lines coming across our mountainside. And the second question is to be on more, actually help me with that.
Your stance on renewable energy.
Renewable energy, thank you, sorry. So the first one, unfortunately, as a city council, we don't have a lot of say because that is not within our area. Myself personally, I agree with the people of not having it come through our area, but unfortunately, that is not our decision. That is going to come down to the county. Secondly, the renewable energy, unfortunately, sorry, I'm just seeing what to add. Unfortunately, I'm not very skilled with or understanding on the renewable energy. So at this time, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you about it because I don't know. But I will look into it, and so that way the next time it does come up, I will give you a very precise answer. Thank you, though.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you for the question. Stop B2H. Absolutely. Stop B2H. But, Justin's not wrong. It is less of a city issue. Any way that the city of LeGrand and myself as a counselor can at least voice an opinion on the matter or have some participation in the discussion, I want to be a part of that discussion and stop B2H. They're going to be ugly. The research that I've done so far, I've gone to a couple public hearing so far. I'm not convinced it's necessary because of things like renewable energy. I'll kind of jump over there real quick. But we've got to really think about the fact that it might not be within city limits, but it is absolutely going to affect our way of life and our day-to-day life, especially if you want to go up to Morgan Road while those things are under construction. Morgan Lake. You're going to go up and down Morgan Lake Road, and you're going to have to share the road with a bunch of D8s and massive cranes, and they're going to put a 200-foot wide cutaway in. They're going to put in a dozen or more access roads to each tower. It is, yes, technically it is outside of city limits, which in this case, it's too bad we don't have a say in the matter because it's going to ruin our view shed, and we as a city body won't have much say in it other than perhaps putting some pressure on the county to act, making the process a little more transparent. Renewable energy, I mean, absolutely, but with respect, that's beyond the city of LeGrand. What my job would be on the city council of LeGrand, but as far as my beliefs, yes, there are more alternatives than just fossil fuels.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you. Okay, so North Powder, any impression, any thoughts around those questions?
I get a magazine called High Country News, and it's dealt extensively in this power line that's going between Bourne and Hemingway. And I know we need the power, but I think when we do things like that, we also need to look how it affects the environment. And I'm not sure if we've done a complete job of looking at that, because it does affect the wildlife where those lines are put in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to build on some of the points that Justin and Ashley made for LeGrand, it's a challenge because both are issues that don't necessarily fall under the purview of the city council. B2H isn't something that the city council has immediate control over. We can have some control over how we respond to it, or how we manage the fact that it's going to be coming in. But it isn't necessarily something that we can say yes or no to. Personally, like anybody, I don't like coming in from Baker and seeing that thing, getting ready to come down that hill, right? So, but it sometimes in this case, it's how we react. Then similarly for renewable energy, I think that there may be some opportunities for City Council to work with OTEC and seeing what opportunities might be there. I know that they have a number of programs that are actually fairly robust, but there's always opportunity to work with that as well. We may not have the opportunity to create our own wind farms or something like that, but it may not be out of the question either. So I'm certainly open to the debate as well. So thank you for your question.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. All right. Another question? Jack? Or let's get a mic to you, though, because, again, we've got people at home on live stream, and they can't hear us unless we're talking into a microphone. So there you go. Kelly, thank you.
Thank you. The question is housing. Issue is we need more housing. Does that mean we need more property in the city limits? Do we need to extend the urban growth boundary? Do we need to bring more of the urban growth boundary into the city of LeGrand? That's a question.
Good question. Yes.
Ashley?
Okay.
Thank you for asking the question. Yeah, that's certainly a concern I share. To answer your specific questions, though, about the urban growth boundary, there's actually quite a bit of land left. I know of vacant lots, just again, as a real estate agent and property manager, I've been pretty familiar and actually dealing with this almost daily. There's actually quite a few vacant lots still within city limits, not necessarily urban growth boundary. And then there's room left in urban growth boundary as well. The issue I think we're having is finding a way to kind of incentivize and attract developers in our area to get them to build. Now, I know when we do have somebody on the hook, so to speak, we've got a solid planning department. Mike Boquist and the Planning Commission, they do what they can to get to a yes when it comes to letting that developer build that subdivision or that apartment building. And that's the right attitude to have. I think they clearly recognize that we've got an issue to deal with here. But yeah, just to your point, I think for now, as far as how much dirt we've got to work with, I think we've got enough to get a real edge on the issue as it is, but I would look into expanding if necessary.
Thanks, Ashley.
All right. Let's go ahead. Should we go to our right? All right. So North Powder, do you want to go ahead?
I think that North Powder likes being small and they don't want to grow.
An honest answer.
Thank you for your honest answer. Yes. And a little applause I think I heard over on some side from North Powder. Thank you. Okay, Jim, go right ahead.
I honestly, I think Ashley is one of the better experts on this, to be honest. And I agree. I do think that there may be some opportunities for expanding that urban growth boundary. I think that there are things to look at there. Having served on the Planning Commission, I kind of work with what falls into that. So the expansion isn't something I never necessarily have as much purview on, but I do feel that I have been very impressed in the service that I've had within the Planning Commission in terms of how we have always tried to find a way to yes. So yes, there are problems, but I can see that from that angle at least, the staff and the people involved in those processes are doing everything that they can to drive solutions forward, essentially. There are other angles and there's other perspectives to be brought into the mix, but I can see that from that piece we're in solid shape. I think the housing crisis, what's really tricky about it is it really is a systemic issue in my view, which means that we need to bring in many other perspectives and look at it from many other angles beyond just Planning Commission and zoning and all of that. So that's my view.
Thank you, Jim. Justin?
And thank you for the question. One thing, of course, both the gentlemen that sit next to me have hit on a lot of the key points. One thing that I would like to add to that is I think the best thing to do is wait until we get the study out so we can see exactly what our community needs. We all know that we need housing, but we don't know exactly what kind of housing, mid-level, low-level, or the higher level. So I think once we hit the study and then we have the exact numbers of what we need to work on, then we go from there and work on trying to attract new people to help us bring new housing. But I appreciate your question. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and then we're going to move on to the next two cities. So,
Okay.
yes, right here in the front.
Question right here.
Speaking of economic development, I understand there's a move afoot to stop the train whistles from blowing through LeGrand 24/7, and I can understand the economic potential there when you have more people staying here because they don't have to spend the night listening to train whistles. And so this is directed more to the LeGrand candidates, is what's being done about that?
It's a good question. All right, so I have lost track who started first. I think we go to Jim on that one. Yeah, this is a pretty important initiative, and we have gotten some feedback from many in our hotel industry that have pretty much said that's got to stop because we've got clients who will not come back. So let's talk about that.
Okay,
Go right ahead.
I'll jump in. So the quiet zone is something it's been going on for some time now, and there's been a pretty amazing group of community individuals that have been driving that forward for some time, and I don't know, like 10 years or more or something. Anyway, yeah, long before my time. So it's I think it's really important, and if you look at the Yelp reviews for our local hotels, you can see that they're being affected by it. And you only need to talk to them, obviously, to know more detail on it. And I think that the challenge with it is that it's extremely expensive to put in the barriers that are required for it. And then it's also, some people would feel that it can make things more dangerous. Personally, I think that it's something that we should move forward on. I think some of the expenses are still being worked out, so there's some more details to figure out there. But I don't think that there's any question that it's something that we should continue to pursue personally. So.
Thank you. A dear friend of ours has just asked me to remind you to please state your name from time to time, so we, the voters, and those at home know who is giving the response. And so, Jim, if you would please.
I'm Jim Whitbeck, running for position 6 on LeGrand City Council.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, because unfortunately, my friend in North Powder, you don't have to worry about it. So you're off the hook on this question.
No, I hear the train. It's only about a block and a half from my house, and it goes by, okay? And I have one crossing there, and the whistle blows one time, so it really isn't noticeable. Except that the train traffic from the last 10 years, since I'm a train chaser, I'll call myself, is up about 20%. You know, they probably have 5 Union Pacific trains more this year than they had 2 years ago going through North Powder.
All right. Well, if they're going through North Powder, they're coming through LeGrand too. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. All right. So let's go to Ashley. Please introduce yourself one more time, if you would, please. First and last name and the position you're running for.
Hey, I'm still Ashley O'Toole, running for position 7 in LeGrand City Council. Yeah, I'm a believer in the quiet zone. Needs to happen sooner than later. Yeah, there has been an effort for at least a decade or so, citizen committees getting together to try to make this happen. I wish I could have sat on more of those meetings. I've been to a couple of those to kind of offer an insight on effects on property values. I remember speaking at a city council meeting once to highlight the effect it'll have on property values as well. We've gotten pretty far down the road with it. The Federal Railroad Administration is actually either they've wholly approved or in large part approved the scope of the project, what we plan to do to make those improvements. There was a ballpark cost of around $200,000. I'm sure that's subject to change as the project grows or shrinks. But just this past spring, I sat on the LeGrand City Budget Committee and was one of the folks that voted yes to fund $200,000 to the project. So it is actually closer now to happening than it ever has before. And with any luck, especially with me sitting on council, I'm going to be leading or driving that effort to make sure we break ground and get it going.
Nice. Thank you, Ashley. And again, state your name, if you would, and the position. And
my name is Justin Rock, City Council, Position 7. And actually, it is a lot further than most citizens know. We are waiting to hear back. Actually, the estimate was $250,000, not $200,000, which I believe is going to go more once it gets going. If everybody knows me, I've been actually against it from the beginning. It's not that I'm against the quiet zone. I'm against spending the money against the quiet zone, because we do not have $250,000 to go towards something that we could be putting towards roads and different things like that. But thank you for the question.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move along. And so if you have more questions, remember, we've got tables set up all around the room. You can, when we're done, go talk to your specific candidate with those very specific questions. I will say, too, when we did the other forum, we did have people go to the table and ask a question. If they weren't satisfied, there they could go into a little more depth and get a little more strategic plan going. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, and we wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so we're going to get on now with the rest. We've got 2 cities left for city council.
Yeah, we do. The next one is, there's only 2 balls left, so if we can. Island City. Is there anybody here from city council for Island City? Okay, well, that makes this really easy. Okay, the final one is Union, and we had a city council candidate from Union that wasn't able to make it tonight. He is running for position 4. His name's Matthew Lader. He provided his statement. He typed it up for us, and so we're going to have Casey go ahead and read that for us, so that if there are any voters from Union, they get kind of a taste about what Matthew's platform is.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, we gave all the candidates an opportunity to communicate either through email, a letter, a card, a note,
Correct.
Anything they wanted to give us so we could communicate on their behalf. So just to be clear, all the candidates had an opportunity to do that. So, Casey, if you could please read the 30-second opening statement, 2-minute response, and then closing.
And just to be clear as well, this is Brian McDowell.
Oh, I thought it was Matthew Lader. Okay.
Yes, so this
Brian
is
McDowell is running for position 6, and he's running against Walt Brookshire. Thanks for the clarification.
Yes, so this is for Brian McDowell. Good evening, this is Brian McDowell, and I'm running for position 6 on the City Council for the City of Union. If you are eligible to do so, I humbly ask for your vote. I am originally from Texas. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan. I am married to Lindsay and have 2 kids, Marianne and Con. We bought Dwayne and Sherry Schubert's old place and live near 10th and Bryan. We got to Union last September and love it. I have been in the finance and intelligence fields since 1997 and 2000, respectively. I'm running for City Council because I want to leverage my existing skills and areas of expertise towards helping the community we are now part of. Specifically outside of issues the community has brought to the table already, 3 priority areas of focus to me are historical/cultural preservation, economic and business development, and quality of life enhancement for existing residents. So to answer the 2 questions, in my opinion, what are the 2 most pressing issues in the City of Union, and how do we plan to solve them? The 2 most pressing issues for the City of Union are community and business development and wastewater system upgrades. For item A, community and business, we need to further energize our town while making every dollar invested in our volunteer count. This process starts by reviewing our vision, values, assets, resources, and supporting plans to affirm what we want to keep, what we want to add, and what we want to change or eliminate. We can then ensure our aims, strategies, formal documents, incentives, and efforts are coordinated and in support of where we are trying to go. I plan to solve this with heavy engagement from the community, beginning with a series of targeted meetings engaging our community to discuss and explore all of these issues. For example, we may hold a series of 2 to 3 meetings to review, discuss, and affirm our vision. For item B, wastewater system upgrades, we need to explore transitioning our current system from dumping/processing wastewater into Catherine Creek to a lagoon or pool system processed on land. We need to ensure existing residents continue to get quality service while also positioning for future residents and business growth. We also will be facing new federal regulations within the next 10 years that the current system is not likely to meet, which would result in fines and more costly reactive system improvements. This will be accomplished by working closely with the city administrator, mayor, city staff, and city council to execute the best plan possible while obtaining the best financing possible. In my opinion, a major key is to upgrade the system without significant or material increases to the cost of service. So again, this is Brian McDowell, running for position 6 on the City Council for City of Union. I'm excited about the City of Union's future. I hope to leverage my skills, abilities, and talents by serving my fellow residents in efforts to preserve history and culture, increase economic development, and enhance quality of life. If you agree with these sentiments, then I humbly ask for your vote.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Casey.
Casey.
Yeah, thank you for reading that.
Yeah.
That was a great
And
response.
so thank you to Brian for putting that together and submitting that to us, even though he couldn't be here tonight. So
Right. Okay, so we're going to take a break. Now we're going to segue into the mayoral race. And so, yes, sir. Wonderful. Okay, so thank you for saying that. Forgive us, we did not see you. So since you're here, you got to take the stage like everybody else. Come on up. While you're, yes. And then Robin, where's Robin? Is Robin Church here? Thank you, Robin. Once we're done, you're on. So get ready. You ready? No.
can you introduce yourself to the crowd, please?
Yes, my name is Hugh Johnson, and I've lived in Eastern Oregon for 14 years. I moved here from Texas. I've been working with the state of Oregon for 18 years with families, youth, got a lot of training and stuff in community development. And I have a master's degree from Eastern Oregon University, so look forward to working with you guys in the business area and community development. In regards to the 2 questions, I'm going to be very quick on that, but I have a long list. So I'm gonna 2 biggest areas that we need to work on in Union, in my opinion, are very core and basic. One is business development, and the other is the drug problem that's been moving in. So those are kind of grassroots. The business, when I moved to Union in 2009, since then there's been 15 businesses close. Now that's not an aggregate count. There's some that have come and gone. But our core businesses are shutting down. We just lost our pharmacy, we've lost several banks, et cetera, et cetera. So, bottom line is we need to focus on how to build the industry up in the town and to make ourselves little more profitable and self-sufficient than we currently are. I'm looking at some options if I get elected, possibly some things like a Sportsman Warehouse, a lumber company, put us in there. If I could do it without the grocery section, probably a Costco, things like that. We also have a lot of historic buildings in town, and those need to be maintained. Union is a very historical community, and that environment needs to stay put. We have a lot of businesses that I'd like to solicit into town. Some of the things in the area that have been disappearing, I'd like to see come back. I'd like to see things like artisans and good old-fashioned Sears Roebuck, those things come back. And that could be done. We need a lot of local handcraft items. Unions is shifting from being just a residential area to a tourism shift, and I think we need to ride that train just a little bit. I think that also would help with LeGrand as well, because it helps with the valley. I think we have a lot to offer in Eastern Oregon. Regarding is that 5 seconds my total? All right, including the drugs issue, tell me if I need to go. Time's up. All right. Am I good or am I go?
Take 30 more seconds.
I appreciate that.
30 more.
Regarding the drug issue, I believe there's some ordinances we can set up that would make landowners responsible for allowing tenants to manufacture meth and distribute illicit drugs out of their homes. And I think that can be done effectively and take those properties and put them back in the hands of quality families. Bottom line, if you like these ideas, I'm running for position number 2, City Council Union, and put a check mark on the ballot. Appreciate it.
Okay, don't go anywhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
Stay up there for just a second. We want to open up questions for Hugh. Does anybody have any questions that they want to target to him for Union City Council? We've got a couple, so I wanted to open that up.
We did open up questions, and Hugh, thank you. You're the only guy there. It's got to be a little stressful. Thank you for putting up with this. But we open up questions for the others. We do want to make sure we have adequate questions for our friends in the City of Union. So,
my name is Sherry Hager, and I have a question. I heard you say something about losing the pharmacy in Union. What? Where's Walt going?
He has sold out. He sold the building. We're going to get I believe it's a lotion body type ours in that spot. I know Walt is looking at possibly reopening the pharmacy in a different way, but yes, that is a done deal.
So clarification, you're just talking about growth-wise, but he's still going to be there in the capacity he is now?
The pharmacy
will still be there.
Currently, right now, the pharmacy is going out of business. Okay.
Wow.
He's looking at reopening it if we can get the cooperation of the clinic and so on and so forth. But as of right now, as we stand here, the pharmacy is on its way out, unfortunately.
okay, thank you. Next question. Go right ahead.
So I work for Heart and Home Hospice and Palliative Care. The colors, but I took the badge off. So my question is, how will you influence how the Grand Ronde Hospital impacts the community in Union?
Well, we definitely need more hospice type services. I'm very familiar with your work. My wife just passed away about a year ago, and we had to go on hospice, so I'm very familiar with that. I think there are some things that we can do to increase care, and one of the simple things would be to open up, look at some possibilities for people that are low income. They need that help. Simple things like oxygen, materials, that sort of thing. And I think that there would be a lot of dialogue that could happen with opening up medical services, especially because we have a lot of retirees there in Union. So I think that's a very, very needful thing.
I'm super passionate about this, obviously. I have one more question, then I'll be done. I promise, Bob.
That's You're good.
This is the first time I've asked questions here, so I'm really excited. Anyway, so hospice is paid 100% by Medicare. So low income's not an issue when it comes to hospice. Home health, maybe. And if you are on the council, I'd love to talk to you.
Love to have that happen. We'll do coffee at Randy's if I get elected.
Perfect. Thank you for your questions. Very good. All right. Other questions for our friend or from our friends in Union? All right. This may be unusual. I actually do have a question. I think that Union is an up-and-coming city. Can you just take a minute and talk about the concerns you mentioned around the drug issue? And, you know, we as citizenry are very concerned about these issues because, of course, crime rates go up and we don't feel safe in our communities and it just spirals. Can you give us one or two specific activities you're going to engage in as a city councilman to help fight that?
Yeah, I've got a map of all the drug houses in the city, so I've already started. but I think, honestly, what's happening is the drug, I don't want to call them a cartel, for lack of a better term. There's several drug rings. We had one move in right next to the Baptist church, incidentally, which is a little bit ironic. But what's happening is that they're able to operate off the real estate that they lease or whatever. And my thoughts are that if you make the owners or property managers liable for that type of behavior, and then you also, and I've talked to some sheriff deputies, they would welcome some specific ordinances that will allow them to go in and specifically target a drug house. And that gives them a lot more comfortable legal ground to do so. I'm not opposed to condemning a house if it's drug related. It needs to go to quality families. We need families. We need kids at school. We don't need drug addicts. So that's my thought.
Thank you. Okay, so I think, thank you. Again, state your name and the position you're running for.
Hugh Johnson, position 2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh.
We'll let you
And I
off the
feel like
hook.
I need to ask, is there any other city council candidates in the room? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everybody got their opportunity. Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you. All right, let's get Robin. Robin, come on up. Robin, come on up. We're going to take a break from this. We are going to move into the mayoral candidates, but we've got Robin Church here with us from the county. And Robin, come on up, take a second, talk about who you are, what you do, and there's a microphone right there for you. Who you are, what you do, and information we need to know as we move into this election cycle.
Just going to remind us of some important dates, I'm hoping.
Right.
I'm Robin. Hi, I'm Robin Church. I'm your Union County Clerk. Tomorrow is your last day to register to vote for the general election. You can come into my office. You can go to the post office. You can register online at OregonVotes.gov. But the last time to get them into my office is 5 o'clock. Online with the Secretary of State's office is midnight cutoff. Ballots are being dropped at the post office Wednesday. Hopefully you'll have them by Friday or Saturday, but give them a week. We all know how our mail system works at this point. If you don't get one, we'll be happy to reissue you a replacement ballot. You will need to come into the office and sign paperwork and request that ballot. Yes. You're welcome to call my office at any time. We're happy to look up your name and tell you if you're a registered voter. If you would like to call, please feel free to call. We're there from 8:30 to 5, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4 on Friday. No, that is incorrect. You are dropped from the voter roll if you move out of state, if you're deceased, if you write us a letter and say, I don't want to be a voter anymore, we get those. And if you move and don't vote in Union County for 10 years, you are moved to the inactive status. So don't think we're dropping anyone off the rolls without some type of situation that warrants that.
Good questions. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Robin? I do want to say thank you for all that you do. We've got a professional at the helm up there, and you are by far on it. And I want to give you credit, too, because Robin was very involved in these meetings that we had to help guide us through some of the particulars around what a form should look like. So I thank you for that.
Thank you so
Robin.
much.
You're
I
wonderful.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
ballots go out on Wednesday, correct? Okay.
All right. So also, if you have not registered, I believe most of our candidates have a booth or a table set up where there is an registration form. And then I think Robin brought some with her as well, where you can register to vote with her as well. All right, and there's more around the table. Now, when I mentioned we're going to take a break, what I meant was we're not like going to pause. We're going to keep going. It was just to take a break to talk to Robin.
Okay.
Because we don't have time for a break. If you need food, restroom, do your thing, tap that growlers. Feel free anytime to get up and mingle, whatever you're going to do. But we're going to keep going and moving forward. We're headed now into the mayoral race.
We are. And would it be easier to just ask how many mayors there are in the room?
It might be.
I
So
think we
can
should just do that.
bypass this technology.
Right. Okay, so
All right.
if you are running for mayor in your respective city, come on up.
Come on up. If you're running for mayor, let's get you up on the stage. We almost need some traveling music, Casey. Do we have anything that would be suitable? Something mayoral?
You got to make it quick. Thank you, guys.
All right. You guys do have that James Bond flair about you. So.
So for the audience, we'll start on the left. If you'll just let us know who you are and what town you represent.
My name is Alan Duffy. I'm the current mayor of Elgin, running for re-election.
Thank you. Let's go on down the line.
I'm Rob Ray, running for Island City Mayor.
I'm Dell Little, and I'm running for the mayor of Cove.
Jonathan Rutherford, running for election for Elgin.
All right, thank you. So from time to time, we may ask you to state your name again, just for the people watching online and for the people in the audience. So let's get right to it. We posed a 2-point question to you. This is a place where now you have a platform to present your case as to what you believe the 2 most important issues are. The challenge is that what is important to those who live in those communities? And so with no further ado, let's read the question again, if you would, Ms. Corinne.
Okay. In your opinion, what are the 2 most pressing issues in your city, and how do you plan to solve them? And we'll start with John.
Let's do. And remember, you've got a 30-second intro. You have 2 minutes to answer the question and then talk about what you would do to solve those issues, and a 30-second conclusion. All right, go right ahead.
Well, I moved here in 2008 to Union County, LeGrand. And then I moved in 2013 to Elgin. When I moved into Elgin, there was quite a few businesses that were there, family-owned businesses. I've seen too much change in Elgin, too much kind of controversy with big names and small people that don't get their chances. So I'll move into my question. Is the changes that need to be made in Elgin are our roads need to be repaired, our sewers need to be upgraded. Favoritism in Elgin needs to be changed as well. And if elected, I will take every consideration from every citizen that comes across my desk and give every citizen a chance to make their point to me, night or day.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. All right, let's go on down the line.
I'm Dell Little, and I'm a candidate for mayor of Cove. I was 6 years on the city council, 18 years I worked for the city of LeGrand. I worked for 15 years for state economic development, bringing money to Eastern Oregon and other parts of the state. I also served 20 years in the military, and I volunteered for ODF and W as an instructor and coordinator for 25 years. Now, the 2 questions, small communities like Cove have many issues. To pick 2 of them kind of caused me some concerns because they have snow issues, dogs, deer in the yards eating vegetation, noise and speeding. My choices might not be the most pressing, but if you ask anybody, those choices could change. I selected different ones. My issues are public involvement and enforcement. City councils strive to address pressing needs. Primarily, they have to concern themselves with keeping the city operating and in compliance with state, local, federal laws and mandates. Council meetings are attended infrequently and unless there's a sensitive issue. The council meetings conflict with many activities, and that's not going to change if you change the meeting dates or times. Citizen input allows the council to make better decisions. I would create a way to inform the citizens, such as meetings, events, topics of interest. I'd report the actions taken at meetings. I'd create I call the Mayor Corner bulletin, and I would produce it, and it would be posted at places where the public frequent, and I would look at putting a bulletin board on the outside of the City Hall. Most cities have more need than they have money. I'll pursue goal setting, prioritization, work to find money within the budget or other sources. Goal setting requires citizen input to get better decisions and choices that the council can make. I want to hear from the people of Cove if I'm elected mayor. Enforcement. Help with sidewalks ordinance right now as I'm doing, and many of those have non-compliance.
Thanks, Del. Rob, you want to go next?
Okay. I'm Rob Ray. I basically came to LeGrand about 30 years ago to college. Came here, Eastern Oregon State College at the time, to play ball. Pretty much fell in love with the area. Left for about a year and then decided to come back, make this my home. Moved to Island City shortly after that. Worked and lived out there. Been on the city council about 20 some odd years. Had a couple mayors, and things are progressing along there, so I decided to step up and take that position. So a little different than I believe what I've heard so far tonight. Island City's a little different than some of the smaller cities. It's right on the border of LeGrand. We blend things sometimes. So one of the things that I think is one of the big issues in Island City is the roads, especially our McAllister. If you've been out there lately, it's been worked on, it's getting fixed, and we've had several questions about it. But we don't really have a plan of what to do every year. So I'd like to put a plan together for road maintenance and which road needs help the most. And then if you've been around Island City lately, probably our biggest burning topic right now is the Greenway project. We've had several public hearings and meetings what to do with the Greenway project. So it's a large deal with grant money in conjunction with the county and the city of LeGrand. But it's a project that it's moving on, but it's been going on for over a decade now. So some attention needs to be put to it as well. So my candidacy, a little bit of old school. Like I said, I've been there several years on the council, but it's time to move on and look at some new ideas and some fresh things. So, all right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Alan?
Well, my name's Alan Duffy. I've been an Elgin resident for a little over 11 years now. I have a family. My wife is here, Michelle, and two of my kids, Megan and Kevin, and I have an older son, Alex. And I just have a passion for Elgin. I've been mayor now for 4 years, and I want to continue the good work that the city employees and the citizens of Elgin have done to improve their community. My two biggest issues that I want to work on this year is one, preserving the home rule charter for this city of Elgin. Most small cities have a home rule charter, and as the state works their mandates upon it, they're eating into our charters and mandating us to spend funds where where we think funds don't really need to be spent. My second one is continue to provide great public safety and public services. And the way that we do that is to fight the home rule charter, to keep the state money that is coming to us in our general fund so that we can continue to provide good public safety and not mandating them to do things that aren't really affecting our city. We have a great contract with Union County Sheriffs. We've had that now for, I think, about 6 years. We have 3 excellent deputies that serve Elgin, and I want to maintain that relationship. And we have seen the crime rates go down, we've seen the drug rates go down, and we really need to keep focusing on the public safety for our citizen. As well as streets, water, and sewer. We're currently applying for a $3.5 million block grant to work on our sewer system. The collection system, that's the final part of the upgrade in our sewer system. And had the opportunity to meet with all of our state legislatures in just the last week. I had Senator Merkley's aide here on last Friday, and we were able to show her all the projects that we're looking at. I'll be meeting with Senator Wyden's aide in the next few weeks. Congressman Walden is on board. All 3 legislatures have committed to help us with this block grant and writing letters of support. We need to work with each other, and been involved with the mayors from all over the county, and it's an important group of people because we're able to share our ideas, we're able to share resources that just really saves our communities a lot of money sometimes.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, so you've heard from your candidates. These are our local mayors. And gentlemen, thank you for taking time to be here tonight. There were others. There are other races going on. We will not get into those tonight, but let's open this up. We want to let you ask questions. Now, if you are not, you don't want to stand up and you don't want to take a microphone, you don't have to. Someone just handed us a piece of paper with a question on it. Let's start with this one, and I think Cindy had a question back there. So, Corinne, what was that question?
Okay, excuse me, Bob. We didn't get the opportunity to do our closeout. The mayors.
Did we miss the
We didn't get
30-second
30
closure?
seconds.
Then let's go ahead. We want to err on the side of giving you the time you need. By the way, we're great on time. So let's go ahead and do that. And will you start us off, and we'll go to your left and come back around. Go right ahead. Take 30 seconds and give us your closure. Thank you.
Okay, as I mentioned, assessments for penalties and that, they need to be assessed and go through a municipal court. And so far, Cove does not have one, so I would look into setting one up. But right now, we depend on volunteer cooperation, and that would be our first avenue for getting compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Rob.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Alan?
All I'd say is that I've enjoyed being mayor of Elgin. I think I have a proven track record, so I just ask the Elgin residents for their trust and for 2 more years.
Thank you. All right, and bringing us home. You're good? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Let's get to your questions from the audience. So we had one turn in a piece of paper. So, Corinne, do you want to read that one?
Yeah, the question is, what would you do to improve economic development in your town, and how do you feel about the current status of economic development in your respective towns?
And let's put a minute on the clock if we could. I hate to limit that to a minute. It's a big subject, but that's something I think that you've got some experience in. So let's take 1 minute, each candidate. And I don't know where we should start. I don't know who started last time. I've lost track.
Does anybody want to volunteer on this one?
Alan, go right ahead.
For some of us small rural communities that are out of the LeGrand area, it's very difficult. As a mayor, I have joined with other mayors and brought that same question: how do we do economic development? And I think it's really going to rely on us working with other communities and preparing a plan overall for Union County. Because as a small city, it's very difficult to take this on your own. And working together, we've had the experience of other small cities saying we have a business inquiring in our community, but they just don't fit. But we think it might fit in your community. So we were able to reach out to help them, and now we have that business in our community. So there's no book answer for it. It's cooperating, working together, with Union County, with the city of LeGrand, and all the small cities in coming up with a plan that will work for everybody.
Thank you. Rob?
Economic development in Island City. Once again, we can almost feed off LeGrand. Sometimes we get people that want to leave LeGrand and move just a little bit out. So it does help Island City, in some respects. We've looked at some of our development and how we develop businesses. We worked with Walmart. At one point in time, they were going to move into LeGrand, and we worked with Walmart and kept them in Island City. So we want to work with businesses the best we can and give them a home that they can be proud of, and we can give a little bit and they can give a little bit just to have a good home in Island City.
Thank you. All right.
Economic development for Cove is limited to the existing businesses there for the most part. So we want to retain those businesses, and we're willing to work with other agencies in economic development, not only that would benefit Cove, but Union County as a whole.
Thank you.
Economics part of it. Well, we want to keep our businesses that are there instead of letting them close down for taxes otherwise, but also bring in more stuff that, if Embler, Island City, or LeGrand doesn't want them there, maybe we can find a spot for them in Elgin. Keep our community alive, because if we lose any more businesses or even lose the mill, our city's going to die. And that is a fact that I've seen. And I've heard that the mill is already talking about closing down doors at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. All right, let's open it up.
We've got a
Questions from the
question.
audience.
Cindy Edwards has a question.
Because it's very focused. I'm Cindy Edwards. I'm from Cove. I live in the 97824 zip code, but I live a whopping 1.9 miles from City Hall, so I live in the county. As one of your interests in public involvement, I'd like to know how you will engage those who do live outside of city limits. Public involvement is very near and dear to me. I manage the Cherry Fair, which is a completely volunteer operation, and it is difficult to recruit volunteers and keep them interested. And so I'd just like to know your thoughts on this.
All right, thank you. Good question.
That is an excellent question. And I think I've already started a step towards that communication element by handing out to many citizens in Cove my sheet that gives my experience and my willingness to be open and available. I'm a good listener, and there's a lot of experience that I have that can help the community, and I recognize that we have a tremendous amount of citizens living outside our city limits. Our urban growth boundary is the same as the cities, so we can't expand, and only 2 full-time employees can't serve more than what we've got right now. But we're open for discussions. As I said, we need more input to the council meeting, and I'm open for that.
Thank you. All right, who'd like to go next? Go ahead.
As I've been running and getting signatures from citizens that live inside Elgin, I understand that where our citizens are greatly more outside our city and not in city limits, so they cannot vote on city ordinance, which is ridiculous. If they live within the city limits where it is posted, they should be able to vote. I have not seen where it is actually posted or even shown the boundaries of our city. It is confusing looking at a map. So those issues have come up to me several times by citizens.
Thank you.
Public involvement. recently we've just, like I'd stated, gone through these Greenway project, and it was interesting. We had several people come to our council meetings and our public meetings, but very few Island City residents, mainly county residents, people directly impacted. It's true, it's tough to get people to come out to, a small city's council meetings, get involved with city governments. It is quite the challenge. Just keep going down that path and trying to keep people involved. I'm not sure exactly how the best way is, but.
Thank you.
Well, I want to say, in regards to ordinances, we had an ordinance on all-terrain vehicles within the city limits, and our house was packed of people supporting that, as well as the council, and there were folks from all over. I think that in a small community, we have a lot of community groups, and if you've ever been to one of my meetings, all those community groups have a place on my agenda to speak and to share. Many folks outside the city of Elgin consider the city of Elgin their home, and as I stress to them, they may not be able to vote within the city election, but there are 6 city councilors and the mayor, and they'll have their ear, and they can obviously share their concerns.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. We do have a write-in question that we can get to.
We already did that one.
We did this one. Okay, fantastic.
We've got another question over
Okay.
here, though.
So let's take two more questions, and then we're going to move on to our next race. So go right ahead.
Yes, my name is David Reed. I live in Elgin. I'd like to know, what is a mayor's task on the city council?
Okay, so I'm going to have to ask for some clarification. So I didn't hear the whole question. I think you asked, what is a mayor's pass on city council? Is that
right?
Okay.
His task. What does he do on the city council?
All right, thank you. All right.
I'll start. Every city's a little bit different. It depends on their charter and so forth. But it is my task to bring an agenda forward to my council and to work with my council on the different issues. I'm also the person who signs all contracts and documents that the council has approved. I'm also the #1 cheerleader. I represent the city of Elgin through the state, the Oregon Mayors Association, the League of Oregon Cities. So we get out there. I mean, one thing that any mayor wants is their city on the map. And, I strive hard to do that. This year I was actually elected as a board member to the Oregon Mayors Association. I think it's going to be great for Eastern Oregon to have a mayor from Eastern Oregon on there that can go out and share the issues of Eastern Oregon.
Thank you.
Well, going from a mayor to somebody who isn't mayor, and he pretty much said most of what the mayor's responsibilities, what is done. Once again, my biggest deal would be cheerleader, being out there, being involved in the community, and getting information out to our public so they understand what is going on in the city. Sometimes that seems like it can be a downfall a little bit, in Island City anyway, is letting the citizens know what's going on a regular basis. We used to have newsletters, and now it's gone to the internet. A lot of people don't go there. So it's how do you get that information back out to those people and keep it in front of them so they understand what might be going on in their city.
Thank you.
The last two speakers pretty much covered the duties of what mayors do at a city council meeting. In addition to that, they also keep order, especially on those touchy items. Our charter states that the mayor also appoints the city recorder and other positions. The charter doesn't go too much beyond those duties other than what's already been addressed. We are going to be looking at a charter revision, and some of the duties may change.
Well, as Dovey said, that he's kind of cheerleader, and I don't know, I've never run for an office before, so I'm new at this, and I'm just going to fight for the citizens and be their voice up there.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go. A couple more questions. Corinne?
State your name and where you're from.
Charlie Gillis from LeGrand, and I'm on the board of the Rails and Trails group that wants to build the trail between Elgin and Joseph. And I'm wondering if the gentleman from Elgin would state whether they oppose or support such a proposal and argue their point.
John, you want to start?
You know, that would make it easier also for bikers not to be on the roads. It'd be a safer place for them to be. I've almost hit one coming into work every morning. You know, there's a gentleman that does it every morning. He doesn't drive, and he is a citizen from Elgin. So, I mean, it would be a safer bet to agree with that. You know, and then we'd be able to walk with families along the road and, you know, enjoy wildlife.
All right, thank you. Alan?
I do support the Rails for Trails, and I believe if you go back and look, under my leadership, the council has also issued a resolution in support for it.
All right, thank you. All right, we did have a question over here.
Okay, we'll take one more.
Getting your exercise this evening.
Yeah. Walking by the food.
I'm Risa Hallgarth, and I live in Elgin myself, too. We would like to know, just probably from the Elgin people, or maybe the other people would like to know from Island City and Cove, what is the ballpark city budget on average?
That's a good question. So it was directed toward the Elgin candidates first, so we'll let them answer first, and we'll go to the other two candidates if you would like to answer.
Rutherford, running for mayor of Elgin. At this time, I don't know what the budget is. I was kind of banned from being at city meetings. On another note, that's in the court system, and I wasn't able to figure that out for the last 6 months.
Thank you. Alan?
Well, I'd share with John, if you want to look at the city budget, I believe it's online on our website. Our budget's about $3.5 million. Bulk of that is for just your basic general fund services. We've been very fortunate in Elgin to get a lot of grant funds, and a lot of small cities, that's how we operate. We count on those grant funds. So that $3.5 million basically provides all your public safety, all your public services that we offer, and it doesn't go far. So grants are important to us.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Would either other candidate like to comment on what you believe your prospective city's budget is and your thoughts around that?
For Island City, it's about $2 million, but this last year when if you've been out there, we've had a water project with a bunch of grant funds through that. So when you start putting those into the books, it kind of makes things go all kilter for a while and then settle back down.
Right now, I've been busy helping the city with ordinances and that, and haven't had a chance to delve into the budget. I have talked with the city recorder regarding the debt limitation question that I have. But if elected mayor, that's one of many, many items that I will need to come up to par on to be able to conduct the council meetings.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's a tough question. A lot going on with the budget. Thank you. All right, so we're going to transition now to our next gentleman. Thank you. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
For taking time this evening to be with us. And real quick, before you step down, let's get your names one more time. Hold on. Let me come on over. I just want to make sure we get the connect the name and the face. So face the audience and the live stream. Tell us your name and what mayor you're running for.
Del Little, the City of Cove mayor.
Thank you.
Bob Kavanaugh? No. Rob Ray, City of Island City.
Thanks a lot.
Alan Duffy, the City of Elgin.
Jonathan Rutherford, City of Elgin.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for putting up with us. Thank you. Okay, Miss Corinne.
Okay, so next up will be Circuit Court Judge. So we'll have you both come up.
That is beautiful transition music. Thank you, Casey.
Are we paying him?
I don't know.
We can be inspired tonight, right? Yeah.
We are inspired.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so we have our current sitting Circuit Court Judge, Mona K. Williams, and we have Wes Williams, who's running against her. So we'll start out and just have you guys, we'll start with Mona. If you want to just identify yourself and go ahead and go into your spiel and answer the question that we provided to you guys. Do you want me to go through the question again,
Yes.
audience? Okay. Question again is, in your opinion, what are the two most pressing issues as it pertains to the Circuit Court Judge position, and how do you plan to solve that? Go ahead, Mona.
All right. Well, my name is Mona K. Williams, and I am your current Circuit Court Judge. I became the judge in June of this year when I was appointed by the governor, and that process is one where I was interviewed by a panel of 5 attorneys, including former Judge Brian Drecke. And out of that series of interviews that were done for all 6 candidates, 2 were chosen to go on and interview with the governor. At that point, the governor interviewed 2 people. I was one of them. And she looked at our experience as well as my time's up on that.
Just your introduction.
All
Go
right.
right. You're fine. Go right ahead.
All right. The point I wanted to make there, and I'm going to do that as a part of my questions here, is that the judge's position is a nonpartisan position. And the judge basically, or the governor basically crossed party lines in order to appoint me. And I think it's important going into my questions that you understand that this is a nonpartisan position. Because the judge's position is one where the person has to be non-biased, has to be a person who is willing to look at the facts and look at the issues before the judge in the courtroom and make a decision based on those, not on personal opinions. One of the main issues that we have facing us right now, and one that I've seen repeatedly in the courtroom, is the issue of those people who are within the criminal justice system who have serious mental health issues. Those people are ending up in jail when they really don't belong there. Where they belong is in some sort of treatment program. And in those treatment programs, they could get what they actually need, which they don't get in jail. The problem is we don't have the programs and the facilities locally to deal with that. I propose that we do a collaborative resource inventory with the Center for Human Development, with the law enforcement agencies, with the DA's office, with the courts, and we look into that problem and we decide, is there a way that we can get past the fact that these people are in jail where they don't belong? So that's the big issue. The other one is one of financing and access to justice. And we need to make sure that the judges are out in the community talking to people, making sure that people understand what the judicial system is all about. And I will do that. Finally, I am a 5th-generation Wallowa County native. 4 generations of my family lived here in Union County. I love Eastern Oregon. Eastern Oregon is my home. I believe in Eastern Oregon values, and I believe in the Eastern Oregon culture. And I really would appreciate your support and the ability to continue being your circuit court judge. Thank you.
Thanks, Mona. Yeah. Wes, it's all yours.
I'm Wes Williams. I've practiced law here in Union and Wallowa County for 22 years now. I have a general practice. I've represented people all the way from ranchers and farmers protecting their private property rights to those accused, representing their constitutional rights, and victims of crime, making sure that they can get full restitution and that they're protected. The most pressing problem, I believe, before Union and Wallowa County today, I have to agree with you, it's drug abuse. And there are two ways that the circuit court can get involved in helping solve that problem. First of all, we need to have real and serious consequences for those that violate our drug laws. Secondly, something that we can expand is something that Judge West started years ago, and he did a great job with it, and that's our drug treatment court. If you are a first-time offender and have not involved in violence, then you can enroll in the drug treatment court. And if you comply with drug treatment court, then we can help you become clean and sober and start a life of sobriety without crime. It works. It works in other counties. It works here. It works in other states. It's not soft on crime. It's smart, and it saves taxpayers dollars. Secondly, I think we need to improve the juvenile justice system. I've been talking with the juvenile director of Union County and with juvenile experts in Pendleton. And I think we can do two things to improve the juvenile justice system. One, we need to listen to the parents. I've been amazed at how often I have appeared in court in 22 years practicing juvenile law, and the parents are not being listened to. They have to be listened to. Secondly, we can adopt what the juvenile experts are calling activity-based sentencing. So when we sentence juveniles, we incorporate into that sentence activities that can lead them towards a more productive, positive lifestyle. They can be going out for a sport. We can mandate community service. We can mandate for them, I'm watching my time, sorry. We can mandate for them that they get involved in activities in the community, just like our uncles and our fathers did for us. Lastly, the Oregon State Bar commissioned a judicial fitness poll, and the lawyers of Union and Wallowa County voted on who they felt was most fit to be the judge of Union and Wallowa counties. I'm humbled to know that they selected me to be judge. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you, Wes. All right, two very good candidates, and we thank you for taking time out of your schedules tonight to be here. A lot on the line, and one of the things we want to do is we do want to open this up to public questions. Now, there is a statute, and forgive me, I cannot cite the statute, and there are some questions they are not able to answer. And you're going to know those statutes better than I will, but I want to be sensitive to that. If the candidates say, I'm sorry, but based on the statute, I'm not allowed to answer it, it's not necessarily because they don't want to, they cannot. Right? They cannot. So we do have a couple questions that were handed.
We'll kick off with one, and then we'll go ahead and take it to the audience. The first question is, can you describe one instance when you faced an ethical dilemma, and how did you resolve it? Wes, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Yes. That is a tough question. I had, as many of you know, Sam Ledridge was my mentor. He was a long time practicing attorney in Union and Wallowa County. He helped me when I set up my practice. I drafted his wills. I handled all of his legal work for him. When it was getting to the end of Sam's life, he needed a lawyer that was going to probate his estate. He also needed a lawyer that was going to change his will. As his lawyer, I had to change his will. And when it was over, his family came to me to probate that will. I couldn't probate it. Ethically, I couldn't probate it. I had to be true to Sam, and I was till the day he died. But I had to be true to his family too, and his daughters. I referred that probate over to Glenn Knoll, who I think is an excellent probate attorney in town, and he did a very fine job probating that estate. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Mona?
Right.
Go right ahead. So sorry. I know the speaker's on the way there. I couldn't see it. Go right ahead. Would you like us to repeat the question?
No, I have it.
All right.
All right. I faced an ethical dilemma at the beginning of this job as judge. The ethical dilemma had to do with, do I hear cases that Mr. Williams, where he was representing clients? There was the question of how will the people look at that, and what is my ethical obligation there? I have an obligation to be fair, and I want it to appear to be fair. I want people to know that I'm being fair. So what I did was I met with Mr. Williams, and I recused myself from all of his cases that were pending during this candidacy, so that I'm not hearing any cases involving any of his clients, because I don't want them to believe in any way that the outcome that they receive in the courts is something that is personal in any way. So that's how I resolved that ethical dilemma.
Thank you, Mona. A very thin line sometimes that you are asked to walk. Okay, let's go to our audience. If you have a question, okay, we've got one here with Cindy. Go right ahead. Corinne, you there? And then Kelly, do you have a microphone? Let's get, if you can go on that other side, if you would please, and that way we won't have so much traveling time. Cindy, go right ahead.
I know, I'm always with the questions. For those of us who don't know, what is the breadth of knowledge that you need to have to judge cases that you will hear in a circuit court?
Good question. I don't know who started last time. Forgive me. Then, Mona, would you go right ahead, please?
All right. Well, I think that the breadth of knowledge that a judge needs is very broad, because you are sitting in any given day. For instance, today, I started out this morning with some pretrial conferences in civil cases. Then I moved on to a juvenile detention hearing. Then I moved on to a preliminary hearing in a criminal case. Then I did custodials in criminal cases for people that were being arraigned. I did a couple of plea and sentencings. And then this afternoon I did a jurisdictional hearing for a child dependency case. So in any given day, what I do is go from one thing to the next. And so I think a judge's background has to be very broad. And I do have that background, 17 years in civil law and 11 and a half years as a prosecutor.
Thank you. Russ?
Thank you, Bob. I agree. You have to have a very broad experience. My experience has been trying literally hundreds of cases in civil and criminal court. I've represented people in these counties charged everything from assault for to murder. I've represented ranchers and farmers in adverse possession cases, and I've represented clients in every one of those types of hearings that Mona just mentioned. I'm also licensed to practice in state and federal court, and I've argued before the Court of Appeals many times and before the Oregon Supreme Court. I think it's important to be qualified as judge, that you have been before other judges in other counties, in other venues, such as federal court in Portland or the federal court in Pendleton or the Court of Appeals in Salem, and that your practice doesn't just focus on criminal law or civil law, but you practice the entire gambit, entire area of that law. Gives you good experience in the knowledge and the workings of the law, also with different judges and how they operate.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you very much. All right, let's go back to our audience. Some questions you may have. We've got someone right over here. Right here. I don't know who had their hand up first.
My name is Mike Howard. I live here in LeGrand. And as mentioned, there are certain things you can and can't talk about because Oregon has rules concerning judicial races, one of which is Rule 5.1, and it talks about political activities of judicial candidates. So the first part of the question is, do you understand these rules? And the second one is, except as permitted by law, a judicial candidate shall not knowingly use court staff, facilities, or other court resources in a campaign for judicial office. Have any of you used these things in your campaign, excuse me, or on your online postings? Thank you.
Yes, Wes, please go right ahead.
Yes, I am familiar with that statute. It's section 5.1, subsection C of the Oregon Judicial Code. It's incredibly important that judicial candidates not use court facilities or court staff in their election. We need to be above partisan politics. That's right in the code, and it's been stated clearly. I have not violated the statute. I read section 5.1 several times when I first started. In fact, I read the entire judicial code 5 times the first day I filed, and I've read it several times since to make sure I'm in compliance. And, Mike, I will continue to read it if I win the election to make sure that I stay in compliance with the Oregon Judicial Code, just as I've been very careful to be in compliance with the ethical code that governs lawyers for the last 22 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you. Mona, go right ahead.
All right. Well, this is especially applicable to me because I work in the courthouse every day. And it sort of goes back with the ethical question and the ethical dilemmas that one faces as a judge or as an attorney. And I can honestly say I have not used court services or court staff. I have been very careful not to do that. I have my own computers, I have my own cell phone, and if I am going to do anything that has to do with the campaign, I leave the court facility to deal with that. The court staff has been amazing in staying out of the campaign. They've worked very hard at that, and I have worked very hard at not drawing them in. And so we don't talk about it while we're at work. That's just not part of what we do. Quite honestly, we don't have time.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you very much. Okay, and then I know we have a question over here with Russ. There you go.
Thanks, Bob. Senior Judge Russ West. I'd like to ask a question about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's community outreach. What have you done in your career up to this point to improve the criminal justice system? Things like starting a victims impact panel to educate drunk drivers, drug court, which, by the way, Senior Judge Valentine and I and a bunch of other folks started to offer an opportunity for people to deal with their addictions. And so my question is, what have you done up to this point to improve the justice system? And if elected, what do you plan to do to improve the justice system in the future for victims, for litigants, for everybody in the system? Thank you.
That's a good question. All right, forgive me. I don't know I'm losing track who went first, who went last. So who's up?
I think I'm up.
Mona, please take it away.
All right. Well, what have I done in the past? I spent my whole legal career in Eastern Oregon. And when I first started as the district attorney, well, let's go even farther back. When I first started in private practice, there was a real need for pro bono work in Wallowa County. I was one of the first attorneys, and right up until the time I became the judge, I was an attorney that volunteered for the Legal Aid Services of Oregon and met with people who could not afford attorneys on a regular basis. Once I became the district attorney, I helped to establish the Helping Hearts Child Abuse Assessment Center so that children, victims of abuse, could be interviewed and seen in Wallowa County and did not have to come all the way to Wallowa County or all the way to Union County, sometimes taking up to 4 weeks to be seen by someone, a professional.
Thank you, Mona. Wes?
First of all, I took one case pro bono all the way to the Oregon Supreme Court. You can read about it. It's called State v. Exrel Dana Jo Simmons. Thankfully, we were able to prevail for that lady who never would have been able to afford an attorney on her own, and it changed Oregon law on the termination of parental rights. Secondly, I've gone to the high school and other local schools giving presentations on what it's like to be a lawyer, but more importantly, the importance of constitutional rights and due process rights, and how it's important that we stand up for those rights. Third, among other things, many times I volunteered to be the teen court judge for teen court. Of course, all of this is just public service for free. They don't have teen court anymore, but I did it constantly while they had it, working with Ben Morgan and the juvenile department closely there. I've also visited Assure Drug Testing downtown here to talk about with them how they can make sure people are compliant, and visited the good men at the Oxford House, the Clean and Sober House, with them
Thank you, Wes.
about their
Thank
sobriety.
you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. All right.
Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Kelly, there we go. And then we've got two that were turned in? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Wes, we've talked about this before. What was the bar poll numbers? Oh, I'm Eric Valentine, senior judge. What were the bar poll numbers?
The bar poll numbers were 12 voted Wes Williams and 11 voted for Mona Williams.
All right, and if your wife, Jen, who was a local attorney who works for you, had not voted, it would have been tied. Is that correct? I'm assuming she voted for you.
So I'm assuming
What's the question?
Yes.
Eric, question?
The question is, well, I'll leave it at that. It was 12 to 11, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's
All
a
right.
matter of record, Mr. Valentine.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so with that question, most of us in the audience are probably wondering what that means, and maybe it's just me. So I want to give each candidate a moment to talk about what was just asked, and so you can educate us. And Wes, can I ask Mona to lead this one?
Yes,
I know
no
you were the one asked the question briefly, but let's go to Mona. Mona, talk about what you just heard. Take a minute, and tell us what that means to you.
Well, the Oregon State Bar, anytime they have a contested judicial race, they do a poll, and it's done over the internet, and the attorneys, if they pay attention to the bar site, vote in that poll. There was a poll done because this was a contested judicial race, and the poll results were 12 in favor of Mr. Williams and 11 in favor of Ms. Williams. And so what I have learned since then is that there were a number of attorneys. There are way more than 24 attorneys in Union and Wallowa counties. And there were just a number of attorneys that did not even realize the poll was being done. So the poll, yes, it came out the way that it did. And there was one more vote for Mr. Williams than for Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mona. Wes?
Wes?
Thank you. The Oregon State Bar commissions a judicial preference poll online. All lawyers are given notice of it, and they're allowed to vote their choice of who they think is the most qualified candidate. Out of all of the judicial polls that were conducted this year across Oregon for contested judicial races, I was the only candidate that defeated the sitting judge. It takes a lot of courage for a local attorney to vote against a sitting judge and to instead vote for the man or woman challenging that sitting judge. And I appreciate that those lawyers in our community had the courage to stand up and be counted.
Thank you. I would also encourage those in the audience, if that is something you'd like to look a little more into, please do so. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the poll. I don't know the numbers, and polls are interesting to me because I don't know how many were in the poll versus who actually responded to the poll. So forgive me, and we as an audience, I would encourage you again, look into this for yourself. Thank you for that information, and thank you for that question. Okay, I think we've got someone in the back.
Yep, we have one more.
Okay, go right ahead.
Hi, I have a question that may not seem real relevant, but I assure you it is. We've heard a lot about your professional experience and things that you've done in the past, and I am also interested in temperament and character type questions. I grew up in a law enforcement family, and I saw many, many people who worked with the criminal element become jaded over time, and I think judges really face this risk. what is it about you, or how do you go about avoiding jadedness or continuing to be able to walk into a courtroom every day and treat people with a great respect that all humans are deserving of?
That is a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that.
Wes, go ahead.
Thank you. As many of you know, Judge Brownton was a good friend and mentor of mine, and I was his attorney. And I used to walk up to his house and have lunch with him every Wednesday. And he knew this day was coming, and I used to have those talks with him a lot. And what Judge Brownton told me is, everybody, you look at the good in everybody. He said, you're going to have hard days. You're going to have hard days in court. You're going to have hard days with clients. Remember, there's good in everybody, and don't prejudge any cases. When someone comes before me, I can guarantee you, I will treat you with dignity and respect. I will look at your case based on the facts and the law of your case. And I'm going to obey those words and abide those words that Judge Brownton told me all those years ago. Thank you.
Mona.
Thank you, Wes.
This is actually a good question, because I served as the Wallowa County District Attorney for 11 and a half years. And as you may know, and maybe you don't, I had decided not to run for another term. And so when it came time to turn in the application for district attorney, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. It was before I knew Judge West was going to retire. So I made that decision because I felt myself becoming different than I wanted to be. I was becoming cynical. I was becoming a little bit jaded. And that's not my personality. That's not who I am. I'm someone that cares deeply about people. And I care about doing the right thing because it is the right thing, not because I have this sort of cynical attitude. And so I decided not to run. And I will carry that into the judge position. And come and see me in court. I invite that. And then decide for yourselves.
Thanks, Mona.
Thank you, Mona.
Do we have any other questions from the audience?
We do have two that were turned in.
Right.
And so I would like to see if we can go to a 30-second answer. I know I'm asking a lot for attorneys. Forgive me for that. And I mean that in all respect.
In
all
the
right.
nicest way possible.
So let's get the first one.
So one of them is, do you have any judicial role models?
I don't know who starts first.
I think it's Mona.
Mona, thank you. Mona?
I do. Two of them are sitting in this room right now. When I started practicing, Judge Valentine was on the bench. He definitely is a role model to me, and I'm having a hard time calling him by his first name, even though I'm now a judge. Judge West came on the bench while I was still in private practice, and if I can do half the job that he did, I will be very happy. So yes, I have role models.
Thanks, Mona.
Thank you,
Wes?
I have two as well. The first, of course, is Judge Wesley F. Brownton, my good friend and mentor. The second would be Judge Jeff Wallace, who was the presiding judge for many years in Umatilla County and an excellent judge. After I tried my very first civil case in front of Judge Wallace. And what impressed me about Judge Wallace is he was always a gentleman in court. Oftentimes, I would lose in front of Judge Wallace, but when I left, my clients felt like they received a full and fair hearing. Oh, that's right, it's 30 seconds. Later, he became my law partner, and we practiced together recently.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wes. Final question. Do you feel that having experience as a prosecutor is a necessary part of being a judge? Wes, you start this one.
I do think it's necessary to have experience prosecuting cases. And I have prosecuted literally hundreds of civil cases in both state court and federal court, representing people. I'm not a government lawyer. I'm not a government lawyer by choice. I'm a people's lawyer. I don't represent corporations. I represent people against corporations. And so I think it's important, more important, to have experience representing regular people solving their very serious legal problems and representing them against great odds against corporations and the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Mona?
Well, do I think it's necessary to be a prosecutor? I think that was the question, and I think the answer is no. Is it helpful? Yes. And I think the question is aimed at being a criminal prosecutor. And as a criminal prosecutor, you learn to analyze cases based upon the rights not only of one person, but on the rights of the defendants, on the rights of the victims, and on the public safety aspect of that. So I think that analysis and being able to make that analysis is very helpful to a judge.
Thank you,
Thanks, Mona.
Thank you very much. All right, we want to thank you for taking time. It is not easy to be put on the spot like this. And so, again, we appreciate you very much. Can we give them a round of applause?
Thank you, guys.
And we are in the home stretch.
We are in the home
We're in the home
stretch.
So what we want to do is take a moment as well. We've got a state representative position, 58th District. And so I don't believe Greg Barreto is here.
Greg couldn't make it tonight.
But he does have someone here who is going to read a statement,
Okay.
I believe, a representative. So if that representative can come on up. And then also, I don't know if Sky Farnham is here this evening as well. Sky, you are, thank you. Come on up. So please welcome these two to our stage. Appreciate you being here. And so we want to get a good perspective of your thoughts. And again, we appreciate you taking time this evening. So go ahead and go on up to the stage if you would, and straddle up to a microphone there. And so this is going to be a little challenging if we have questions for these candidates. We don't have Greg in the room, and I'm not sure if you're prepared to answer the question for Greg. So let's do this. Take a second, introduce yourself, and then go into your 30-second introduction or statement. And then let's go right into the question that we asked. The two, let's see, do you want to go through, in your opinion, what are the two most pressing issues as it pertains to a state representative position, and how do you plan to solve that? This is a broad question, we understand, but we know you'll do your best. So let's go ahead and...
Sky, why don't you go ahead and start?
Yes, Sky.
Thank you all for coming and putting on this event, all the candidates running and participants in the audience. I'm a proud father, local patriot, fourth generation local. I'm a landscape contractor, not a politician. I'm a what would Jesus do type of Christian. I'm running because of the elephant in the room, and it's the topic that hasn't come up. It's our divided nation. To hear these candidates talk so civil and sensible is a breath of fresh air. But the questions we all face actually are being influenced by the national conversation, the tone of that conversation, and the way that plays out in our community. No one has addressed this. It's interesting to hear the different ideas, like Mona, bring up a mental health court. These things cost money. So does the drug court. Doing the services that our communities deserve costs us money. But the political conversation seems to pit the Democrats against Republicans, and the narrative there is that Republicans are trying to save your money and the Democrats are trying to spend it. This is a narrative I cannot accept. We all have money that we want to keep, and we all have a need for services. So the conversation should be about how do we achieve the services we need with, balancing that with how to bring the revenue. And, I've gone to these forums and it always comes out the same. Everyone at the local level is kind of, county commissioners and such, they're hoping that maybe the state can kick some money down. But when you go to the politicians at the state level, your local representatives want to talk about anything but raising money. Well, the truth is we just need to be able to raise money. And if you look at the ballot measures we currently are looking at, they would make it impossible to raise money. So, you know, looking forward, I just hope we can make some responsible choices about what our values are and how we're going to achieve them. Is that all my time?
No, you've got 30 more seconds.
Okay. The Independent Party is just, you know, coming into our awareness in Oregon, and I think it's an incredible opportunity for us to pull back from the political brinksmanship of Republican and Democrat, and start to address the campaign finance issue that is at the root of these divisions, where we have essentially unrestricted access to our airwaves of people really just bringing up issues that don't threaten our way of life, but that people feel strongly about. So I look forward to campaign finance contribution legislation.
Thanks, Sky.
Sky, thank you. Stay there. I appreciate your thoughts. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. And let me just say this for the audience. It takes a lot to step up and stand up and speak your piece. So thank you for what you've said. Okay, you're representing Greg Barreto. Please state your name and go into your 30-second intro, 2-minute answer the 2 questions, and 30-second exit.
Can I maybe change it just a little bit here? What I have are some comments that Greg asked me to pass on. I'd like to do that, and then any questions just be addressed to Mr. Farnham, because I'm really not capable and available to answer the questions. Would that be fair enough?
That's fair.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll just take the time allowed, the 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, to just pass on the comments from Greg. Greg Barreto, some time back, was asked to participate in a forum tonight in Portland. So that's where he is. He kept his commitment that he had made some time past. My hunch is he's probably being chased down the streets of Portland by Antifa tonight. Greg says, I'm currently serving on my 2nd term, and I'm asking you to vote so I may serve 1 additional term. I was elected Republican deputy leader at the start of my 2nd term by my caucus members, and I have the responsibility to make the minority party more viable and influential in the operation in governing our state. Many voters do not understand that the major party actually governs the state, and the minority party has little control over the policy that determines the direction and condition of the state. As I continue to evaluate the direction of Oregon and some of the hurdles we face, I go back to the underlying reason I ran for this job. This, of course, is that we are on a course of concern, a cause of concern if Oregon has a genuine desire to attract business and retain jobs. Oregon's growth rate of government spending is very alarming. Since 1980, Oregon's government spending has gone from $7 billion to $70 billion per annum, twice the rate of inflation, and twice as fast as our population growth. In the last 6 years, Oregon General Fund has grown by 31%. And even at that, the majority party has continued to vote for more legislation and more cost in supporting the state. Unbelievable. The state of Oregon cannot control their spending and prepare for future expenses that are looming before us. We're in for a very tough ride. Over the last 35 years, progressive liberal leaders in Oregon have also had significant effect on regulations, policy, fees, and taxes that directly affect individuals and families and businesses in this state. My intent on coming into the legislature was to increase the opportunity in Oregon by making it more business friendly, growing a strong and diverse economy, and producing good jobs. In the last 3 years since I've been in the legislature, the majority party has done just the opposite by adding new costs to small business as well as individuals. They have introduced low carbon fuels tax, increased minimum wage, added paid sick leave, introduced an increase on the income tax of businesses with 10 or more employees. Add to that, we live in a state that has now legalized marijuana. It has dropped the penalty possession of hard drugs from a felony to a misdemeanor. And then ask, will these policies produce a good workforce? And will they attract businesses to a state? Can we even retain these businesses with these policies? I'm proud to have introduced legislation supporting the ODFW wolf delisting, increasing the speed limits on Eastern Oregon highways and freeways, capital construction funding for the Blue Mountain Community College Pavilion, EOU's new field house, the Elgin Clinic, as well as several other community projects. I have voted against all tax increases on hard-working Oregonians. I will continue to fight for the Second Amendment. I'm willing and able to continue this fight and asking for your support and your voice. Thank you very much, Greg Barreto.
Thanks, Doran.
And that's Doran Hopkins. For you who are at home and here in the audience representing Greg Barreto, thank you for your statement. Thank you for the courage to stand up. And I also want to thank you for yielding time for Sky so that we can open up some questions as well. So thank you,
Do we have
Doran.
any questions for Sky?
So let's go to our audience and questions that you may have for Sky. And I know that if Greg were here, he'd be happy to answer those questions. Sky, I thank you for sticking around and being put on the spot. Wonderful. Let's get Doran's mic on, please. And we have a question.
Sky, I want to thank you very much for running, but I have a question I'd like to pose, if I might, to Robin Church, and it's about Mr. Barreto. Is it my understanding he is listed as both a Democrat and a Republican in the voters pamphlet?
He is, and that was something I had noticed as well. And
I'd
so,
like
Robin,
somebody to
can you
explain that to me.
Yeah, Robin, come on up. Or Kelly, you've got a mic right there.
Can you state your name, too, and where you're from?
Cheryl Simpson LeGrand.
All right, so the question is, for those who are at home, in the voter's guide, you will see under Greg Barreto, it says Republican Democrat. So let's get some guidance on that. Robin?
Thank you for that question. The reason that happened is because there was no candidate filed up for the Democrat in that race, and Greg Barreto won the write-in. So he became the Democrat candidate.
Interesting. All right.
Pardon? No, it's not saying he's both. It's saying the Democrats wrote him in as their candidate. No, Democrats. It was a party election in the primary. You had to be a Democrat to write in.
All right. There we go. Robin, thank you. That's very interesting. A great question and observation. All right.
Questions for Sky?
So let's go to questions for Sky.
I do have some written down, so if we don't have any from the audience, we do have some. Okay, I'll go ahead and kick us off. What do you feel are the strengths for running as an independent candidate?
I think as an independent, you first of all aren't limited by party doctrine, which is largely responsible for the culture war we find ourselves in. The Independent Party of Oregon is the third major party in Oregon, the first other than Democrat or Republican to gain that status. As of yet, they have no sitting officials, but their platform is exactly what Oregonians vote for and value by definition. That's how they set their charter up, is basically on the issues that Oregons poll on favoring. So we favor education, healthcare, security, campaign finance reform. It's very critical to actually getting good governance in a state like Oregon, where you have one safe party and another obstructionist party. We lose a lot of capacity for the government to find solutions when we have a polarized political system like we have. So the Independent Party offers opportunity for making choices outside of party doctrine.
Sky, thank you.
Thanks, Sky.
Thank you. Okay.
Another question that we have is, are there any specific bills moving through legislation that you support or any that you do not support right now?
As far as the bills in the legislature, I don't know what they have currently, but in terms of the bills we're facing on our ballot, I can tell you exactly where I stand. I support Measure 102. I think that we need local solutions and the ability for local communities to make choices to counter the housing crisis in Oregon. We are one of the top 10 growing states in Oregon, and our property values are skyrocketing, and the people who service our industries, the lower paid members of our society, are finding it very difficult to find housing, and as a result, we have ballooning homelessness. The rest of the issues on the ballot seem to be conservative political action agendas, and I couldn't support a single one of them. So that's where I stand on the issues.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
We've got a question right here. State your name and where you're from, please.
Peter Farnham from Somerville. Could you talk about ballot measure 105 in particular? I don't know if it's been discussed much here tonight. We just got here, so.
For me, ballot measure 105 is both a moral issue and a public safety issue. On a moral basis, I know people who are here illegally, and I know they are here in good faith, and they are working hard, and they have been here for many years, working hard in our communities. And to turn on them as though they are somehow a threat to us is not very Christian behavior. So being a what would Jesus do Christian, I think that's a moral issue. Public safety wise, if we begin to alienate the 130,000 or so people who are in Oregon illegally, they won't be utilizing the police to deal with their issues that they need police to deal with. And those are issues we all need the police to deal with. So from my perspective, it's bad policy any way you look at it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Guy.
Good question.
Final question that I have. Oh, we've got what? Alan Duffy's got a question.
Thanks, Alan.
Sky, if you were elected, what party would you caucus with?
That's a great question.
I'd caucus with the Independent Party of Oregon. I'm an independent.
There you go. All right. Any other questions from the audience? We have one more written down. Okay, we have one over here.
We've got one over here.
Hi there, Gregory Rollins, LeGrand, Oregon. I'm drawing off a direct quote from Greg Barretto's statement in the voters pamphlet. And he said he wants to protect rural Oregon from state imposing overbearing taxes, regulations, and urban values that don't fit, end quote. What is your definition of urban values versus rural values, and is there any division?
Well, there's many differences in the services we need, but I think we all value the same thing in terms of what our government can provide us. So our values are the same, but what we need the government to do to implement those values is different. But you can elaborate, I guess, but that's the way I see it. I think we all have a lot more in common than we have different, even east side to west side in Oregon. That's a false narrative that they're somehow detached from us in a way that means that their perspectives on politics don't affect us. We're all in this together.
Thanks, Sky.
Thank you.
So final question for Sky is, how would you get both sides of the aisle to negotiate?
I think they'd be in a negotiating mood if independents were running against them in their safe political districts. For one thing, a Democrat is as vulnerable to an independent in Oregon as a Republican. So, if we want our government to start to be responsive to our needs, we need to make it so they're a little bit uncomfortable in their positions. Campaign finance is a good way to go at that. The independent party is a great way to go at that because it just gives more voice to the people. The fact that I'm here providing a choice and an option for Oregonians to possibly be, Eastern Oregonians specifically, to be represented as independent rather than a Republican or a Democrat would be an incredibly powerful statement to send to the rest of the politicians in Oregon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sky.
Okay, can we give Sky a big hand? Thank you, Sky, for sticking around and the answers.
Thank you all. And good luck in November.
Okay, so as we bring our time to a close, thank you to our candidates. Thank you to you who are here. And we also have some people who are involved in politics in local city government now, and we thank you for your service. Again, most of these positions are a volunteer position, and we have to remember this. When citizenry is involved, it's a wonderful thing. And so, again, we thank you for serving now, and we thank those who are here tonight campaigning. We wish you luck in November. We thank Robin Church for your expertise in helping us. If you have not registered, we encourage you to please see Robin or any of the booths here. I believe all of them or most of them should have ballots to register you to vote.
Right. Remember that tomorrow is the last day to register.
Right, the last day. Now, for you at home and those who are here, you might be thinking they did not cover the issues I was concerned about. In fact, I might feel this was somewhat soft hitting. This was not the hard hitting forum we were hoping for. I hope it encourages you to at least an open house mentality. You've gotten to know the candidates. Hopefully they've piqued your interest in something they've said or something they believe, so you can take some time as a citizen to get into the weeds, the dirt of this, if you will, to find out what do they believe, where do they stand, do they possess the leadership that we're looking for Union County to move us further down the trail where you as a citizen think we should go. Right. That is what counts. So we encourage you to look deeper into it, and if you've heard something you don't agree with, good. We encourage you to look into that as well. Challenge what has been said. In fact, I appreciate the comment about what was said in the voter's guide. I actually looked that up, and that is a fact. That was what was said. So encourage you to continue down that path. Anything else you'd like to say to people at home watching or those here in the audience?
Just a reminder of important dates. Tomorrow's the last day to register to vote. So I know that Robin's going to be all over this. So if you haven't registered, tomorrow's the last day to do that. Remember that ballots will go out in the mail on Wednesday. So be looking for those to hit your mailbox. Who knows, Friday, Saturday, Monday, somewhere along in there. And then remember to check out The Observer on Monday, October 22nd, and there will be a more comprehensive voter's guide that has some Q&As that you guys will want to check out for your candidates.
We also want to thank our sponsors for taking the initiative to pony up the cash to pay for our night tonight.
Yeah, so we had Reed & Associates Insurance, Brent Clapp Media and LaGranda Live TV that is live streaming for us tonight. Media partners, The Observer and Super Talk Radio, the Union County Chamber of Commerce,
of course.
Kavanaugh.
Thank you, and Safeway.
And Tap That Growlers in the back too. Thank you, Tap That. And Casey Kunkel, our lighting and sound man.
Thank you,
Casey.
Thank you. Okay, we have some, yes. There is. Brent Clapp, I believe this is recorded, so you can go back and view this. So, excellent question.
They archive them, yeah.
They archive, absolutely, yes. Absolutely, and thank you for saying that. What we're going to do is we're going to dismiss. We're going to walk over and let the folks at home know what happened with Greg Barretto's
right, and remember
voter guide.
that your candidates have tables along the perimeter of the room, so if you've got specific questions for your candidate, take the time now to go ask those questions or get some clarification.
And on behalf of Union County Chamber of Commerce, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to our candidates.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so if we can switch the microphone over to the live stream. Thank you for tuning in. The question came up on the voter's guide. Under Greg Barretto's caption, it has him listed as a Democrat and
a Republican.
And a Republican. Okay, so
So what happened? He is a registered. And now, correct me if I'm wrong about this. He's a registered Republican. But what happened was when it was time for
in the primaries,
right in the primaries, when it was time for a write-in candidate, he was the Democratic write-in candidate. The Democrats wrote him in as their write-in candidate. So while he's not a registered Democrat, that is who they have to vote for.
That is correct. So it sounds like they may not have had a candidate on the Democratic
didn't.
side.
Right.
So what has happened is the Democrats have said, we're going to go ahead and endorse Greg Barretto, and so he is representing now the Democrats for our area, for Northeast Oregon.
And the Republicans.
And the Republicans. And that's what that was about. It was an excellent question, I thought.
Yeah, it was a good
Yeah, it was a
question.
great
There
question.
was a lot of people that were confused by it, so some clarification was good. And it was fantastic that Robin was here to sort of fill in those gaps for us.
I think so too. Okay, real quick, before we go, thoughts of tonight. What did you see?
A lot of what I thought I would see. I mean, I was glad that the people that had the time to show up and that it fit into their schedule showed up. I was hoping there was going to be more candidates that were going to show up tonight. And give their input, but I was thrilled with the people that took the time out of their busy schedules to come down tonight and to lay their platform out for everybody.
And I think they did that. I think they did a good job laying the platform out. I think we heard from their mind, their heart, and their soul on their passion for our county, for Union County, and it was exciting to be a part of
Right,
it.
and I'm glad that the format opened us up so that we could take some questions from the audience too. It wasn't something that we had planned on to begin with. It was something that we really thought was going to be at too big of a time crunch that we weren't going to have the time for it. But I'm glad that we had the opportunity to be able to open it up.
Yeah, I am too. And so with that said, on behalf of Union County Chamber of Commerce,
And the LeGrand Observer.
Thank you, LeGrand Observer, who actually really spearheaded this. And I want to thank the LeGrand Observer for doing that. Charisse?
Yeah, Charisse did a fantastic job. It's a lot of extra work for us, but it's what we're into anyway. I mean, this is like our Christmas. We love election season. So.
And so you are very appreciated. So this is my friend Corinne Bergiotti. I'm Bob Kavanaugh. We're saying good night to you, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for watching.
All right.
Yeah.